Hello, my Teaserking family. How is everybody today? Well, I worked my last day until next year. Fortunately, next year, this time is January 2nd. Last time it was a whole year off. Send to my Daria. Interesting weekend we had. Let's go through college. Let's go through pros first. Well, let's start with gold, of course. Silly me. Always start with gold. Gold 26.14 down $8. Silver 29.66. We know these are being held down by derivatives in no shape or form free market. We know they're worth a lot more than this. So my advice is go and buy for Christmas gold, silver, whatever you can do. I mean, it's really, these banks are, I don't get really why keeping the gold down is keeping you out of dollars. I don't buy that anymore. I think what it is now is the derivatives that they're in. I don't know how long the derivatives take to expire. I didn't think it was this long. But what's happening is, so the silver derivatives, they're getting their ass kicked. They're losing trillions of dollars. And if the price goes up, I don't know. I'm not sure how these expire. Normally it's 30 days or 90 days. These must be a year. I don't know. But when they expire, these banks are going to lose their shirt because they bet they'd go down and they're all going up. So we will see. We know there's a good segment. Egon did a video today, and they ask him this question. Well, why is gold and silver, if all the demand for silver, why isn't it going up? And it's basically, we'll play that, but it's basically because the derivatives, the banks would get killed and they can't let the price go up. So they keep bombarding them to short them to keep the price down. So it's not controlled by the market as we know. Many countries are going broke right now. We're at the end of the line, right? I mean, that's it. Once you've got Japan, you've got China, you've got Russia, you've got Brazil, you've got Venezuela, you've got Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Greece, Turkey, Zimbabwe, probably all the African countries. That's why they're all running to gold. So everybody realizes it, all these BRICS countries, and they're all running to gold because they realize their dollar's worthless. And anybody holding US dollars thinking it's safe are getting killed. And I love when people think that, well, the US dollar, it's the reserve currency, so it can't go out. What a bunch of horse shit that is. That's like saying, well, Kansas City's the Super Bowl champs. They can't lose. Yeah, they can. So it's a bunch of bullshit. It's being the reserve currency. If you print it, it doesn't matter who you are. You can't do it. You cannot keep the currency gunning just because you're the reserve currency. It's absolutely meaningless. You print it to death. You print it to death. The Romans, I would assume, were the reserve currency, and they went out. You inflate your money, and that's the end of it. And that's the bottom line. And that's what we have. So we'll get more into economics later. As far as I know, gold, the market won't close. We will close for probably Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. The Chinese will still be open, and I'm not sure if Europe's open. I don't know if China will be the only player or not, but I don't think they care about the holidays, but for some reason they close on the weekend. Egon also does a nice thing on Bitcoin. Uh, there really is no competition between Bitcoin and gold. He says Bitcoin's it's an investment, and gold's money. You're not in gold to make money, although we're going to make a fortune in it. But we're not in it for the money. We're in it because the dollar's going to zero. That's why we're in it, and we're trying to save our ass. You have no choice. You either get gold and silver or watch your money go to zero. And he was also asked about will the government take our gold? And he says, the way these companies are overvalued with all the inflation and everything, he said, Microsoft's market value and gold are the same, like a couple $1 trillion. So he said, they'll just tax everybody and inflate everything to get that's what they're doing, instead of going and taking our gold. Because again, in the US, there's not that much. It's all China and Russia and everything and us, but really nobody's in gold here. So there's no point in confiscating it. Where the gold is, and because it's worldwide, Russia, China, India, so the US can't go after that. So there's not a lot in the US to go after. So I wouldn't worry about that. I wouldn't put your money in the safety deposit box or your gold, because when the banks go out, that's a problem. And all the banks are going out because of the real estate, as I explained yesterday or the Saturday, where the real estate markets, they're all crashing because of the internet. Where Amazon's going up, all the buildings are going down because people are working from home, doing their own. They're all day trading Bitcoin. So the days of people going to the office and working, and these offices renting expensive places, are gone because they don't need to. They can just, we're going to work, on Teams, and, you work from home, we'll do Teams, and that's it. So, unless it's a plant like Ford and GM, you don't need to be in the office. And they're finding that out. All right. We'll get to all that with Egon after. Let's take a look at yesterday's football, and then we'll look at next week's. Let's go through this. We had Thursday night, San Diego 34, Denver 27. Both teams cover in a teaser. You have Denver in 8. San Diego wins. Total was 42. That was my play. I went under 42 with 2 18 defenses. And I'm starting to be acutely aware of, be careful of the A team and going under. Mostly Philadelphia and Washington game. I locked the game under 52.5, and they play a 69. And, I'm playing because Philadelphia with this real strong defense. Look what they did to Baltimore. Look what they did to Pittsburgh. And they've been playing really tough defense. And you've got to be more careful. You want to play the under team under, but the A team, let the buyer beware. So we start off losing San Diego, Denver. And the other part, I thought about playing Denver. I just thought about the under more. But again, San Diego had to win. They were a game behind, and they did. And that's the other part, not recognizing the back against the walls. Washington, the Rams certainly had to win. And missing those parts. I do hit the backs against the wall normally, but this was like Pittsburgh, Baltimore had their back against the wall, kind of. Pitts, I think in the playoffs are close, but Baltimore was a game back of the division. If they lose, they 2 games back. They can't win the division. So it was those two games that kind of pissed me off. But let's go through this. Saturday, Kansas City 27, Houston 19. Only laying 3.5 with Mahomes. My instinct was to lock Kansas City in the beginning. They were 2.5-point dogs because you didn't know about Mahomes. And I told you there's no way Mahomes is not playing unless it's a broken leg. And so I could have had the 8.5. Instead, it goes 3.5. I do take KC and two teasers plus 2.5. So I won that one. Mahomes does what he does. Stroud does what he does. And 27-19 Kansas City. Then I get a little bit too cute. Baltimore's an over team. I've got the over circled. It's 44.5. I need 38. I'm going to get that from Baltimore, and I almost did. I got 34. Pittsburgh with Russell Wilson as a whole, they're not an under team. They're now an A team. So I got an A against an over, and instead of playing the total, I play Pitt plus 13. And they should have won it. 2 plays, Russell Wilson throws a pick six, and Russell Wilson goes down to the 2-yard line on a quarterback scramble. Looks like he's going to score, and he fumbles the ball. And Baltimore gets it at their own 3-yard line instead of scoring the touchdown. Either play doesn't happen, we win because we had 13 and we lost by 17. So it was a little frustrating there. I think I made the right call. I do think the over was probably more prudent. But that series has been low scoring. It was 18-16 the first time, so that scared me off of the over. So you never know. All of a sudden, Baltimore scored where they couldn't score against them in the first game. They couldn't score on Philly. So, reading a little bit too much into it. TJ Watt played, so I don't know. Again, those 2 plays, the pick six was a terrible behind pass, and he's scrambling in. He should have scored. He should have slid and got down at the 2-yard line, and then they could have scored from there. So should have won that game. It should have been 27-24 Baltimore, but okay. Shit happens. So now we're 1-2. Atlanta and the Giants. I don't play it. I do love that Penix played. He didn't do much in the game stat-wise. But when I watched the replay today on YouTube, he was like, I'm in control. He looked fine. He looked very good. He should have had 2 touchdown passes. He hits guys at the 5-yard line. They got tackled at the 1, and then they ran it in instead of him doing it. So really, he probably should have had 2 touchdowns. 34-7's misleading. They had 2 pick sixes in the game. Atlanta, again, you're going against Locke. So Penix, he looked very good, much better than Cousins. I think they'll be fine. I think you'll see Atlanta being a little bit more of an over team now. So again, my stats get fucked up because they're all Kirk Cousins stats, and I got Penix. So I got to mentally note, forget Atlanta. Now, they're not a 34-point scoring team yet. They will be. But this 34 had 2 pick sixes in it. So keep that in mind. The Giants, they're a Z team. They played like a Giant, like a Z team. So 34-7, and we got Penix. I thought the line got too high, got up to 9. I didn't like. I thought that was a bit crazy. Penix hadn't played yet. He's got to get comfortable and used to it and get the timing with the first team. So I liked them. I just thought the first game. Now they played the Giants at home, so that helped them. We'll see them against Washington this week. Now we'll get a truer test. New England Buffalo, this is my first lock of the week. I go over on the game. The over was 40. I hit it late in the game, but I'm going to hit it. I know it's a winner because it's 24-14. It's 38. I need 40. A field goal gives me 41. They're down 10, and they got the ball at the 5-yard line. They got 2 pass interference calls, and the clock keeps running. And I'm like, just kick the fucking field goal already. And finally, they get a touchdown to make it 24-21, 45. Buffalo, you wouldn't have known it was terrible weather there. So again, you can't lay 14 in the NFL, and that's 1 point. So I avoided losing -8, turned it into an over because New England's with Drake May has been scoring. He runs around. He's not a very good quarterback. Like I heard today, well, New England found their franchise quarterback. I'm like, oh, is Tom Brady back? Because it ain't Drake May. Don't get fooled by the guy that these guys that run. Look at Daniels and Nix. They can run, but they are throwing the ball, and they are much better because they throw the ball and throw for touchdowns than a Caleb or a Drake May or any of these guys. So Buffalo 24-21. I'm over. And one of the reasons I went over it was only 40, and Buffalo scored 30 points like 20 straight games. And I know New England, I'm watching their scoring, and I figured I'd get 14. I figured it'd be 30-14, 24-21, but we do lock the over and win it. Cleveland, Cincinnati. This was going to be a lock over until they said Thompson Robinson's the starter instead of Winston. Because I knew Winston would put up 3 touchdowns, 1 for Cleveland and 2 pick sixes. Well, when it went to Thompson Robinson, I couldn't go over anymore on the game. I couldn't lock it. I ended up playing it very small in one teaser over, and it was 24-6. So that was a 30. I needed 40. And you think, what happened? Well, wait a minute. Cleveland fumbles the ball on the opening drive at the 1-yard line. The guy's going in, he fumbles. So that's 37. And then Burrow throws an interception near the goal line. And that's your 44. That's a winner if I just, the guy fumbles at the 1. Okay. Now I can see if they can't cross the midfield with Thompson Robinson. But the guy fumbles going in at the 1. And then, so that would have been 37 and then just finding a few more points. But that's why I didn't lock it because of Thompson Robinson, who I like, but Cleveland's all fucked up right now. Detroit, Chicago, this is lock number 2. I have Detroit even in 3 teasers, 34-17. I had no doubt on this game. Especially even. I couldn't believe the spread. I thought, I know they're missing some defensive pieces, but it's Caleb who sucks. Caleb throws for 300 yards. 99% of his passes are 5 yards. He throws a 5-yarder here, he throws a 5-yarder there, and the guy runs for 20 or something. He did have a few 10-yarders to Keenan Allen, which they can't. Again, it's Detroit, who doesn't have a secondary or a defense. So you kind of got it. I was going to lock the over 47 down to 41. It ended up being a 51. So I would have won that, but Detroit even was even better. Hey, Bobby Bo. Detroit even was even better. So I took that, and that's what I look at. But the over was a joke too, because I knew with Detroit's defense, they're going to score. And then but there's no way Detroit's losing the game. And so that's what happened. They ran that fake fumble play. It looked so stupid. They're all falling down, and then the guy just throw the guy was open. Just go back to pass and run the route, and he was open. It would have been a touchdown if he ran the play normally. So it was a really stupid play, I thought. He's LSU, and your boy Joe Burrow. They still might make the playoffs. And your boy Jamar Chase and your boy Jefferson. There's a lot of good old boys for LSU, and there ain't too many for Alabama. I'll tell you that. They don't have an Alabama quarterback. Oh yeah, Bryce Young. Yeah, who's he? Tennessee, Indy. This was play against Indy is 14-0. Play against Tennessee's 12-2. That's exactly what happened. Indy wins 38-30, lane 3. Played against Indy, won with Tennessee. I kind of, based on the trends, like both teams, and I like the game over. And I don't play it because I don't play Indy Tennessee games, right? 58. The reason I liked it over was only a 42. I couldn't understand that. It's in Indy, and Richardson's terrible, but I got Mason Rudolph, who's pretty good. So I knew I'd get points from Tennessee, and I knew I'd get something from Indiana. So, now that's where you probably should have locked the over, but I didn't play the game. Arizona, Carolina, I lost my mind and actually played Arizona here, getting a point and a half. How the fuck did they give up 36 to Steve Young and they scored 30? Total was 46 and a half. I thought about the over. I don't normally like playing Arizona because I can't trust them to win. And then Carolina, obviously, you can't trust. So I missed that one. That was a real, that was a terrible pick. I mean, Arizona had to win the game to make the playoffs, right? So this is where you get into it's a must win for Arizona. Their backs are against the wall, but they're Arizona. And that's the problem. They're not Baltimore. They're not Pittsburgh, Kansas City. Those teams with the back against the wall are going to win. And that's the problem. When you get a bad team, doesn't mean anything. Then we get to Philly, Washington, and I locked this game under after Philly just killed Baltimore and they went under, and they same thing under with Pittsburgh. And I'm thinking, wow, they got the Georgia defense. Washington, they barely scored on New Orleans. What I missed was the back against the wall of Washington. Their back was against the wall. They had to win it. Not really, but they did. And they can still catch Philly to win the division. And they were down big. Jalen Hurts gets hurt. Again, not sliding. These guys that want to run, these quarterbacks, they don't understand. You got to slide. So he doesn't slide. He kind of dives running and gets a concussion. I saw the play, and it was he got up. And when he got up, you could see the stars twinkling around like Bugs Bunny. And it was just that was it. So I go under 52, and I figure, wow, that'll be close. I look and I see 36-33, and I go, they played a 69 against this defense. So this is where you've got to remember Philly's an A team, not an under team. And so therefore they can score too. And then Daniels with Washington, I thought he'd have a little bit of a problem on this Philly defense. They had 5 turnovers and they still scored 36 points. So what do you make of it? Does Philly really, their defense not really that good, but they held Lamar to 10 points and 18 points, and they held Pitt. So, it's just that's why they're matchups, and Washington plays them twice, so they know what to do against them. And Daniels looked like a superstar. Even with 5 turnovers in the game, they still win the game. There's just, what are you going to do? Probably not the best to lock the under with Daniels and Philly. Although with Hurts out, I thought, oh, it's a winner. Hurts is out. I got Pickett. Pickett sucks. So with Hurts out, I didn't think Philly would score much, and I thought the defense. So it was like a gift. I did think Philly was going to win, but they were 3.5. I would have had 2.5, and I would have lost if I went Philly. I had a good vibe on Philly, but I would have lost that. So it's hard to play that Philly defense over like the Georgia defense. And lesson learned, you try not to do it against Daniels. So that lock, it was my only lock loser. So I hit the lock on Buffalo over. I hit the lock on Detroit. I lose the lock on Philly. And my last lock was last night, Tampa, Dallas over, which we win very easily. But we'll get to that in a minute. LA goes to the Jets, and lane 3 wins 19-9. They had to win. What happened to Aaron Rodgers? Jesus Christ. What happened to Stafford? They play a 19-9 game. I'm over 40. This was a small play. Played with Cincinnati, very small. But again, I looked at Stafford against Rodgers. Now the problem is the prudent play was the Rams. Play against the Jets 13-1. Stafford, they're hot, they're winning. Pukanuka, Cooper Cup. And the JETSs are all fucked up. And I could have had 3, so I played that one wrong, but I thought the over was the play with Stafford and Rodgers. Minnesota, Seattle. I play this 2 ways. It's raining. It's a 42.5, 43. I go under 49. I lose this one. This was also a light play, but then I come back. I see a 2.5 yesterday morning. And so I take Minnesota plus 3.5, which I said I would do if I got a 2.5. So I hit the Minnesota plus 3.5, and I lose the under. Again, I don't know who Seattle is. One week they play 16-6 to Arizona, and they don't do anything in New Orleans, and then they put up 24 Minnesota. They're not a good home team. Minnie gets the win, 28-3 in a teaser, now 29-3 in a teaser. And you just scratch your head there. They couldn't guard Metcalf. They should have blitzed Smith more. So I lose some. I'm like losing these games that are like, what the fuck? Oakland, Jacksonville, Oakland minus 1.5, 40.5. I didn't know what to do. I circle over, but I don't play it. They're both terrible. And 2 Z teams, and Oakland wins 19-14. And I hear today everybody's pissed because they now lost the number 1 draft pick instead of now the Giants have it. So what's the point? You won 2 games and you beat Jacksonville, who probably laid down so they could get the 2nd draft pick. Miami and the Niners, another nothing game. Miami laying 1.5. They're a good home team. I don't have any interest in this. Miami wins 29-17. The Niners are just, Shanahan. I mean, look at the Lions. They lose players and they're okay, but the Niners are losing players. They lost McCaffrey. They lost the backup. They lost Ayuk. They brought in the other guy. I thought the draft pick was terrible. The kid from Florida, the receiver, is terrible. And the defense, Bosa's always out, so I don't know what's going on there. Let's get to Tampa, Dallas. Tampa, an over team with a 24 defense. Dallas, a much stronger team with Cooper Rush, I keep telling you, and they still have a 27 defense. The over-under is only 47. I lock it because it's 41, and I go, that's a joke. And it was, and Dallas wins 26-24. It's a 50. We were in fine. We were in, I think, at 43 early in the 4th quarter. So it was a 50. Rush looks great. Baker, he's putting up points. Strange ending. The guy fumbles the ball on a really strange play. But 26-24 Dallas, we get the over. That's lock number 4. So I go 3-1 on my locks. I lose a lot of these little plays. Cincinnati over, and the Rams over, and the Vikings under. It was really strange. I played Arizona, so played a little too much. But what did we learn? Well, Denver looks really good. San Diego is a little more offensive than their line makes it. I got them as an under team. They're not an under team, not when they can score 34 in Denver. You got 218 defensive playing. And again, this is where I'm saying if they got good quarterback, like Bo Nix is now a very good quarterback like Daniels. They can light you up. You can't play those teams under. You either tease the dog or you go over with these quarterbacks. You cannot go on, even though they got good defenses. It's too easy to get points with good quarterbacks. KC, Mahomes wins. Pitt, Baltimore, just a fluke. We should have won with Pitt. Again, Russell Wilson fumbles at the 2, and he throws a pick 6. Both not what you're expecting. Atlanta with Penix, we'll see. Buffalo, They were flat after the Detroit game, and I knew that, but I went over. Drake Mays, nothing. Joe Burrow, only 24. I scratched my head on that one. Detroit, powerhouse. And again, Caleb scores late on a third string defense. Um, Arizona still chokes. Do I think Steve Young's getting better? He's getting a little better. I think they're more of an over team now, where they were a Z team. I mean, they're still giving up 30 points, but he's getting more points. Basically, what they're doing is running Chuba Hubbard a lot, and that's what's generating the play action pass, and they're just running and running and running, and he's scoring. Young's not doing anything. He's even running. Between him and Caleb, I'm just rolling my eyes going, what is wrong with these idiots? Washington is I know they're good with Daniels, and they don't really have a defense. So they're an over team. Philly is an A team, but again against a good coach. Now, I don't know. I mean, they held Philly and Pitt. And now here's Washington, and then they light them up. So it's just with 5 turnovers, they light them up. I don't know what to say there, because I know Philly's got this strong defense, so I'm confused with Philly. I know they're an A team; they're a live dog, but they're not going to be a dog. And Washington is apparently a live dog also. The Rams shocking the 19, but they're at home this week. Minnesota, very good team. Seattle's not that good, but you know. So again, the 18 defense. They only got 24, Seattle, and Minnie got 27. Minnie just keeps covering. They're 29-3 now. So, off we go with them. Oakland, Jacksonville suck. I don't know what you do with them. Frisco, Miami's terrible. Tagliabue is terrible. And the Niners with Purdy, they got so many injured. It's hard to figure. Tampa's an over team, and Dallas are over teams. That's why I locked it over. Dallas is not a great defense, 27 defense, but with Rush, they score a lot of points. He's a good quarterback. It's kind of like Darnold, where he's the backup, but he's really, really good. And Baker's just phenomenal this year. We'll see. And then Green Bay tonight, I did play Green Bay. I did not lay the 14. It's just not worth it. I can't lay 14 in the NFL. All right, so let's go to this week. Interesting schedule. We've got 2 games on Wednesday. They still have the Thursday night game for some reason. We have 3 games on Saturday, and then we have the stuff on Sunday. It's driving me nuts. It's hard for me to think because I normally feel it. And so by about Thursday night, I'm playing my games. Well, I can't do that. I got 2 games Wednesday. Then I got the normal Thursday game, and I got 3 games on Saturday, and then I got the rest on Sunday. Let's go through these. So I've already been working from home. I was having time to do football, so I updated my football. I just don't have obviously the Green Bay, New Orleans, but the one isn't really going to affect me. KC Pitt. I got KC 3. The spread's 2.5. They're both B teams. Pretty good defenses, 19-20. We got Mahomes against Russell Wilson. What are you expecting? So, again, do we play Pitt as a home dog? Do we go under? It's 44. Do we go over? It's 44. I don't know. Let me read Bobby. Bucks blew it losing to Dallas. Now Atlanta has a shot at the division. Oh, it's all right. We don't mind if it's Penix. Yeah, the Jet season has been a complete shit show. Well, you can't fire the coach and the offensive coordinator, now, and then you didn't replace them. So it's like you fire your CFO for embezzlement, but then who do you bring in as the new CFO? Your accounting manager. He's not a CFO, and that's kind of what they did. So they bring in I don't even know who the coach is. I guess Aaron Rodgers, and then you bring in Devontae Adams, so you have that. So where were they scoring yesterday? I don't know, but that's what you got. You lose the coach, you lose the continuity. So yeah, they're 14-1 against the spread in a teaser. So it's unfortunate. I thought they were with Rodgers playing, and here he's playing every game. And he ain't doing much. A lot of, I mean, he gets the passes, and you can see he scrambles, and he makes good passes. It's not him; it's the defense, and God knows what the coaching staff's doing. By the way, did I miss any Mark McGuire updates today? Are you starting with NFL? Well, we're going to do. Alligator was on Mark McGuire on Friday, and I touched it a little bit. I'm going to do Egon today. Egon did his Switzerland monthly show, and it was really good. And he nails all the things we talk about. So it's really, you already know all this, but we're going to have Egon say the same thing I say. Yeah, we can play a little Mark McGuire from with Alligator. Alligator was different now. Alligator on Mark McGuire is different than Alligator on these other shows. He's Two-Face. We're gonna call Alligator Two-Face from now on, because you don't know who's talking. I mean, it went from this to that, and now he's saying, "Yeah, bricks will come out with gold," and all of a sudden he changes his tune. So we will get a little of Mark McGuire, but I'm going to do Egon first. And then the banks, as I explained, all the real estate from the commercial real estate is crashing, and 300 banks are about to go. And get your money the fuck out of the banks, which I've been telling you. You've got to get out of the Titanic. You've got to get your money out of the banks. And I know Luke's got his buddy with his 401k. It doesn't really matter if it's worth it. See, here's the problem. People think, well, we're the reserve currency. We're the U.S. We can't go out. We'll just keep printing money, and people will just keep taking our money because all their money sucks. And it doesn't matter if you're the reserve currency or you're the king of the castle. We've seen it. We've seen this show with the Romans and the Brits, the British. Just because you're the reserve currency, if you fuck your money up and you inflate it and you print it too much and the value goes, it doesn't matter. People will smell it out and leave it. And that's why they're all buying gold. And Egon gives it the first quarter. And it's done. First quarter, 25, huge silver, huge gold, banks going out, and there's going to be big problems, which we know. We already know that. Nothing new that I haven't already taught. Maybe they drugged Alligator. Well, I think they pulled his teeth out is what they did. Alligator Madoff. Well, I wouldn't trust. Alligator's a banker or a stockbroker or whatever. And the problem is they're not economists. See, I give you the point of view of an economist. I'm not a broker. I'm not a banker. I'm an economist, which means I understand like I understand football, right? I give you play the dog, play the favorite. We're going over, we're going under. I can look at it in depth as a better, as a handicapper, but I also bet. That's what separates me. And I also can read players, and I know Penix is good, and Bo Nix is good, and Daniels is good, and Caleb sucks. And I can give you that insight. Well, that's what I do with economics. I give you the Titanic. Nobody else gives you the Titanic. They can't figure it out. I excel at figuring things out. So what happens is these guys, they give you the view from a banker or a stockbroker, but they don't understand concepts, and they don't understand you can't keep printing. They don't even know what inflation is. They'll say purchasing power. No, that's what inflation is. You're inflating the money supply, making the dollar worthless, which means the purchasing power is going down. It's got nothing to do with prices. Prices is an effect that you really need more money to buy golf clubs or tennis rackets or steaks. But it's really because you've ruined the money. And because you're the reserve currency doesn't matter. It's you've ruined the money. And that's what's going to happen. So let me finish with football, and then we'll get into a very good Egon. It's about 15 minutes, well worth it. And we'll watch that. Better than Green Bay, New Orleans, anyway. All right. So we're on Wednesday, which is Christmas Day on Netflix. The fuck. We got Baltimore, Houston's the second game. So what happened was last week they played Saturday. Pitt played Baltimore and KC played Houston, and now it's trade your partner. So now Pitt plays KC and Baltimore plays Houston. Well, we know KC's got the 1 seed. We know Pitt and Baltimore are playing for their division, and Houston's playing for their division. And now we got an over team Baltimore lane 5 with a total of 46.5. KC was 2.5 and 44. Baltimore is 5 and 46.5. I've even put the scores in. Houston's really an under team. Stroud's terrible. 22 defense. They don't score a lot of points. I think they scored 21 or so. Baltimore scores like 30. Detroit 30. Philly is up there. KC doesn't score. They score like 24 or so, 25. So Houston at home. This is a revenge game for the playoffs. Yeah. Do we think we're going to pay attention to that? Not at all. Now, this is a game that can we trust Lamar? This is where Lamar fucks us. We bet Lamar, and then he throws 3 interceptions, fumbles the ball, and they lose because he blows the 10-point lead. Hopefully not, but this is the problem with Lamar. Mahomes wins that game, and Lamar is turnover machine. That's why we got Derrick Henry. He's, how they got rid of Derrick Henry in the first place is beyond stupid, but to go to Baltimore was even dumber. All right, so that's Wednesday. Merry Christmas. Then we got Thursday. Seattle goes to the Bears, and they get Caleb. And Seattle's 3.5, 43.5. They're both under teams with 23 defenses. Caleb doesn't score. He's been hitting Keenan and Allen, but again, that's against Detroit with the third-string secondary. Here they got Seattle in a must-win game. They're a game behind the Rams, so they have to win. Bears basically stink. Good defensive team and Caleb. Seattle, Geno Smith, I don't know. He plays when he wants to play, which is inconsistent. You love Metcalf. He had a big game yesterday. Walker's back. So I don't know. And their defense has been getting better, you think. They have a defensive coach. Anybody that gets rid of Coach Pete's out of their fucking minds. So this is a Thursday night game. I don't know. Hard to say here. Seattle needs it, but I don't know. Bears are a home dog. Then we get to Saturday, and they got 3 fucking games on Saturday. They're killing me because I don't trust when teams lose their. I know enough to know when they lose, their rhythm and their rotation. We play Sunday at 1. We play Sunday at 4. That's what we play. So we get ready to play Sunday at 1 or Sunday at 4. Now you're asking the KC and the Baltimore game, guys, you're going to play on Wednesday. They never play on Wednesday. So you're getting fucked already. Seattle and Chicago on Thursdays, you're getting fucked. And now let's add 3 Saturday games. And these guys are not in rhythm or routine to do that. And Bobby, you can suggest that because when you played baseball, I'm sure if you had to play a 10 o'clock in the morning game, you're not ready to play. You're used to playing night games. Now you played 7 days a week, but surely if you had to play a game, at a different time, your body's not ready to play. I mean, you're playing. We play night games, okay, and all of a sudden you got to play a day game. It fucks you up, So I know you can relate to this. This is absolutely ridiculous. So game one, San Diego, 5-43 to New England. Drake May's been scoring some points. San Diego has been much more explosive with Herbert. Still the big defense, 18 defense for San Diego. I don't know if they're an under team. Watching them against Denver, I don't think they're an under team. Against New England, who's not, they've been scoring and their defense sucks. San Diego must win to secure the wild card. They can't catch Kansas City. So we'll see. New England, it's going to be rough against this defense of San Diego's. Then we got Denver and Cincinnati. Now a little smile on my face is Cincinnati's favored by 3. And Joe Burrow and Chase, our LSU boys, since he's an under team with a 26 defense. How Cleveland only scored 6 on this team, I don't know. Denver, I guarantee you, will score much more than 6. It's 3-49. Cincinnati, they're going to light you up with Chase and Burrow. There's no question about it. But their defense sucks. Denver, pretty good defense. Games in Cincinnati. And they're a B team, so they score pretty good. Bo Nix has really come on. So it's Nix against Burrow. Total of 49. That's interesting to me, the 49. Should be, I need 43. Should be it's 24-20. I can't imagine I'm not getting that with Cincinnati, Denver. But we got to check the injuries, check the weather. That's the problem with the Wednesday games. You got to check the injuries and the weather, but they're not ready with the injuries yet. Today's already Monday. I got to look tomorrow for these injuries on KC and Baltimore and everything. Our last game, Arizona goes to the Rams. Rams are -6, 48. Arizona's an under team, 23 defense. Gave up 36 to Steve Young. I don't know what to think there. LA, I think at home, they've been hot they beat Buffalo, and then they just beat the Jets's, and now they are home against Arizona, who just lost to Carolina. Oh, my God. So LA, even team, 23 defense. Total on the game's 48, and the Rams -6. What Arizona team shows up? This is what I don't like about Kyler Murray. He ran in for a touchdown, but he runs too much, and he doesn't slide, and he, it's not good. The quarterback runs too much because you need him to throw the ball down the field, right? And he's not. So he doesn't see anything. He starts running. You're either going to get hurt or you're going to, what? So you run for 10 yards and it looks, he ran for 10 yards. That's not what you want. You want the receiver to go and you want Chase to get the ball and do the running. You don't want Burrow running, right? You throw a 10-yarder to Chase and then he runs. I mean, that's the difference. Burrow runs when he has to, maybe once or twice a game, but he's looking for Chase and he throws the ball to Chase or T. Higgins or the running back, and then they run for 20 yards. Or Chase goes 70 with it. You're not getting that from the quarterback. There's no way he's doing that. And if he gets hurt, you're fucked. So this is the difference. Rams at home probably will win, but, again, this is how much do we trust the Rams? More with Nuka and Cooper Kupp and the running backs playing. We miss Aaron Donald and Stafford, so we trust them more at home. But, Arizona went into San Francisco and won. So this is what blows my mind. They go to San Francisco and win, and they can't win at Carolina. Like, give me a fucking break. Are you kidding me? Finally, we get to Sunday. We open up with the 0 game. Jacksonville, the Z team against Tennessee, the W. What a division that is. How pathetic is that division? And they think, Trevor Lawrence is any good? And then Will Levis, this is the answer. This is why they're bad. Their quarterbacks suck. Uh, Jacksonville's a Z team with a 26 defense. Tennessee's a W with a 28. So they both have suck defenses. Again, Jacksonville 1.5, 41. What do you do with these teams? You have terrible defenses. Jacksonville couldn't score on Oakland. Max Crosby's out, so it's not like that was a problem. Can Jacksonville actually be favored in a game? Now, if it's Mason Rudolph, and I think it is, I got no problem with Tennessee as a live dog there, even though their defense sucks, but so does Jacksonville. Carolina, Tampa Bay. Now, Tampa is now in a must-win back against the wall. They're not going to play. They're not going to come in as a wild card. Not that Washington's got 10, Green Bay's got 10, and Minnesota and Detroit have 12 wins, I believe. So there's no wild card left for them. They have to win a division. Carolina, I don't know what to call them now. I guess maybe an E team with a W, maybe with a 30 defense. Tampa Bay's an over team with the 24s we saw last night. The spread's 8-49. Do you take Tampa at home to beat up Steve Young? Steve Young's they've been scoring more because of the runner. What the fuck's his name? Anyway, I don't know. I keep talking Pukanuka. Anyway, I'm drawing a blank on the Carolina running back, but they've been running Chuba Hubbard, and they've been running him much more, and Young's throwing a little, but they are scoring, and there's no way Baker's going to get 5 touchdowns. He's going to throw for 5 touchdowns in this game. No problem. Carolina still doesn't have a defense, still a 30, and Tampa's a 24. Should be a lot of points in this game just because Tampa is an over. There's certain over teams. Baltimore, Cincinnati, Tampa Bay. Dallas is becoming an over team because their defense sucks, but Cooper Rush is good. Those are really the only teams you want to – I'm going to play them over. The A teams, you got to probably go to the team, and then the under teams, you go under, and the Z team, you bet against. Speaking of the Z teams, we got Indy 7.5, 40.5 to the Giants. Richardson sucks. Drew Lock, who I didn't think was that bad at Missouri. Danny DeVito, he's beaten up. You got rid of Daniel Jones. Took you 5 years to figure that one out. Takes us 5 minutes. It takes them 5 years. And they gave him like $40 million a year. Yeah. And you want to say these guys know what they're doing, right? This is what you want to say. They're the smartest guys. That bullshit. They're a bunch of idiots. Indy 7.5, 40.5. They're probably still, they're still in line to win the division. Them and Houston, because Houston lost. They're going to probably lose to Baltimore. So Indy beating the Giants probably looks more realistic. Both have 24 defenses. 7.5. The total is 40.5. You know the Giants aren't going to help you. So it's hard to go over with the Giants. So maybe you go under with the Giants. Maybe they'll run Jonathan Taylor 50 times and keep it out of Richardson's hand. You can't trust Richardson. So it's a tough. This should be a logical take Indy -1.5. They have to win, but it's Richardson. Again, a terrible quarterback, and the Giants are going to go with Drew Lock. I mean, can we at least get professional football here? Oakland goes against New Orleans. Oakland, a Z team. Max Crosby's out. New Orleans is 2.5 and 40. We got to see what happens tonight if they survive it. They've already got Olave, Kamara, Tyson Hill, and Carr out. Who the hell do they have left? I don't know. They're an under team with a 22 defense. Their coach sucks. I think they fired the coach. Oakland, the Z team, just terrible. All they got is Brock Bowers, who I told you, this guy's every 10 years you get a Brock Bowers. Poor guy's got to be on the last place. He goes to Georgia. They lose like 2 games in 4 years with them, and now they got to go. He goes to Oakland, and they lose 20 games a year. So they're a Z team with 26 defense and no Crosby. New Orleans has no offense. What do you do in this game? You're not going to get points from New Orleans. Hard to bet New Orleans plus 3.5. You can't take Oakland because they suck. Maybe it's an under. I don't know. What was that score yesterday with mighty Jacksonville? It was 19-14. You're probably looking at that about the same there. Just pathetic. It's not professional football. Green Bay, Minnesota, the game of the week. They're both A teams. Minnie's 1.5, 48.5. 21 defense for Green Bay, 18 for Minnesota. But as we saw yesterday, they're not. I don't know what an 18 defense is anymore. I mean, we watched Georgia, and they're giving up 7 points a game a few years ago, and that was it. You couldn't even get a first down on them. But you don't see that, even with the great defense. Philadelphia yesterday, Washington, 5 turnovers and still got 36 points. You got all these other games, and they're just even with the great defense, it doesn't matter. San Diego and Denver, 2 great defenses, you get a 50. So I don't know what a good defense is anymore. I think if you have a good quarterback, you throw out the good defense. I mean, I'm really trying to go to the next level with this and figure out it's a good defense against certain teams, but not against, against Joe Montana. It doesn't matter. You got an under. Although with Lawrence Taylor, you could bet them under with the 85 Bears. You could bet them under, and you couldn't even get a first down on those teams. But you don't have that now. So it's strong. The best defense in the league is San Diego's an 18, Kansas City's a 19, Denver's a 19, Minnesota's an 18, Philadelphia's a 19. So even with those teams, they still give up 30 points if they play a really good quarterback. Like Jalen Daniels, I wouldn't go under against him anymore. I learned my lesson. Okay, I fucked up one, but you learn. As long as you learn from it, that's all you can do, and that's what we've got. So both A teams, Green Bay 21 defense, Mini an 18, Mini 1.5, 48.5. There's only one way I'm going to play this game. Now this is Mini needs it to then go to Detroit the next week for the division and the 1 seed. Now that Philly lost. So this will be a very interesting game. Mini won the first game 31-28 when Love, it was his first game back, threw 3 or 4 interceptions and then came on at the end. So this should be a very, very good game. The JETSs go to Buffalo. Buffalo, the A team with the 22 defense. The Jets, an under team with the 23. Buffalo laying 10 and a 46.5 over under. We know Buffalo is good for 30 points. Now, was weather really a problem yesterday? It was 24-21. I don't know that whether it was 5 degrees out, but we still won our over. I was a little tense on that because it was so cold. Can we get our 41 points? But we did. And it wasn't as suspenseful because I knew all we needed was 38. All we needed was a field goal to 41 and win. And when New England got down to the 5-yard line, I go, well, they're down 10. They're going to kick a field goal. If they don't score, that's for sure. And so that's what Drake May kept fumbling, and he's terrible. The guy's fucking clueless. Finally hits it, and so they got the touchdown. But they would have kicked the field goal because they were down 10 and needed both anyway. So I figured, okay, just don't miss the field goal, and I got 41. So Buffalo should score on the Jets. 20. I don't know if the Jets defense all that's good. I don't know how serious they are about playing at Buffalo in the cold, although they play outdoors anyway. So we'll see. Hopefully it's a little bit warmer. Should be points in the game for Buffalo. They don't have that great a defense. And then there's Aaron Rodgers. And then do I lay the 4 or do I play the total? That's the question. Miami and Cleveland, I have no idea. Miami is 7-40. They're the under team with a 22 defense. Cleveland is Z team with a 25 defense. Cleveland looks terrible. Thompson Robinson looked terrible. Tags pathetic. Waddle's hurt. Tyreek Hill's been. He hurt his wrist in the preseason. He's playing with a broken wrist the whole year. Not as effective. But Cleveland, I don't know. It'll probably be cold off the lake. I can't trust Cleveland. I can't play Thompson Robinson. He looked like shit against Cincinnati with their defense. Miami's terrible coach, terrible defense. And Tag, who throws so many interceptions. So this is the game I have no idea. Dallas, Philly. This is the third best game of the week. After we got KC Pitt, we got Green Bay, Minnesota, and now we got Dallas, Philly. Dallas is quickly becoming an over team with Cooper Rush. He looks very good. You wonder why they keep playing Dak Prescott when they got Cooper Rush. I don't. Can somebody explain that to me? And it's not like he was there a couple of years ago. He did well. Why do you start Dak? Dak doesn't play like this. Dak doesn't put up those numbers. They were an A team with Dak. Now they're an over team with Cooper Rush. A 27 defense with Micah Parsons. I have no idea how. Philly, the A team with the 19 defense. Hurts got the concussion because he didn't slide. When will he fucking learn? Pickett looked okay against Washington. Should be okay against Dallas. If I'm playing the game over, I want Hurts because he runs a little bit better, but Pickett certainly looked fine. You got Barkley running down 150 yards a game, and Dallas with Rush throwing it. Philly's 19 defense, I got to scratch my head going, yeah, really? I don't know. I mean, I don't know, but Philly needs the game now. They got a game lead on Washington, and now they're not in the 1 seed. Even if they win out, the Detroit loses. I think Detroit, unless they lose twice, Detroit's going to be the 1 seed, unless Minnesota beats them. If they beat Green Bay next week and then beats Detroit, Minnesota's the 1 seed. But Philly, I think, fucked up. So an A team with a 19 defense, Philly lane 10. That's ridiculous. There's no way they're a 10-point favorite over Dallas. Now, again, people not smart enough to understand Cooper Rush is a very good quarterback think, oh, he sucks. No. Daniel Jones sucks. Caleb sucks. Drake May sucks, but not Cooper Rush. And that's where people get into trouble is misreading the quarterback. So they're laying 10. I think that's too much. I think Jalen Daniels showed you how to beat him, and I think Cooper Rush can do that similar, although maybe he can run. He can't run like Daniels. So we'll see, but 10's way too much. I wouldn't lay 4 for all the tea in China here. Atlanta, Washington. This now excellent game. Penix against Daniels. This should have been the national championship game last year. Daniels was no, he was. They didn't invite LSU. I don't know why. They would have won. So Penix gets to the championship game. He looks fine. He when you see him in the highlights yesterday, he was in control. And he made just sharp passes. He knew where everybody was. Boom, 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 boom. Hits him right in the hands. He threw an interception to Kyle Pitts, hit him right in the numbers. And Kyle Pitts couldn't catch it at the goal line, and it goes up and gets intercepted. And you're like, you're going to blame Penix on that interception? Are you kidding me? He should have thrown 3 touchdowns. If Pitts catches it, and there's 2 others the Brooks Robinson that he got tackled at the 1 yard line on. So he could have had 3 touchdowns easy. So I see what Atlanta's going to do is what Philly and Baltimore and Detroit are doing. They're going to run Bijan Robinson and then play action it with Penix, and you can't stop it. Washington does that, and then Daniels, you can't stop him. This should be an outstanding game now with Penix. With Cousins, Washington would have killed him, but with Penix, I'm excited. So a good game. Total 47. Washington laying 4. Is Atlanta a live dog? You know Washington's going to put up points if they put up points on Philly. So this should be an outstanding game. And then their last game, Detroit 3.5, 51.5. An A team with a 20 defense and a 32 offense against the Niners, who I don't know who they are anymore. An under team. They can't win in Miami. They weren't even close at Miami. I mean, what is going on there with the 23 defense? Can somebody explain this spread to me? 3.5. Detroit laying 3.5 to San Francisco. Is about it's about as exciting as Detroit laying 6.5 to Chicago. To me, that was a lock the minute I saw it. I thought it was going to be 14. It was 6.5. They're not going to beat the Bears, Detroit. Oh, okay. I know they got injuries on defense. You can't stop their offense. And they get a good enough defense. The safeties are still there to at least, they held Caleb. Caleb wakes up in the fourth quarter. He starts throwing when the defense is tired and they're down 30 points. The Niners, I don't know. I mean, Greenlaw came back. Bosa's actually playing. They can't stop the win. They can't score. Purdy. We'll have to see which way to go here. But Detroit, they play with good passion. All right, teaser lines. A lot of really good ones. Kansas City 29-7 the last 2 years in a teaser, which is like 80-something%. It's okay. Pitt 12-3. Play against KC is 11-2, and KC's 12-3 this year. KC gives you a lot of dual teaser because they win the game like Houston, but if you bet Houston in a teaser, you won, even though KC wins, because KC wins every game by 5-6 points. Baltimore and Houston. Baltimore, they're both 27-7 in the teaser. Baltimore, excellent road favorite, 11-2. The last 2 years, 6-1 is a road favorite this year, and play against them is 6-2 as a road favorite. Maybe that's 6-1. So both teams cover. Baltimore -5. So yeah, Houston 11 probably covers, and Baltimore -1 probably +1 covers. Let's see. San Diego 26-6 in the teaser. 8-0 is a road favorite. 13-2 this year in a teaser. Play against New England as a home dog, 9-2. Play against New England, 26-6. New England is 10-1 as a home dog, so they play close games as home dogs. But San Diego just 26-6 now. Well, they didn't have Harbaugh last year. Absolutely not. This year they're 13-2 with Harbaugh. So, I'd be shocked if San Diego didn't win the game. And in teaser world, that means that's a winner. And they must have it. Denver 26-6 under Sean Payton, even though they benched Russell Wilson. 14-1 with Bo Nix, 5-1 as a road dog, so they're good there. Hard to believe they're a dog. They were a dog to San Diego, and they only lost by 6 or 8. They did cover, and here you got Joe Burrow. But the difference is Cincinnati doesn't have a defense. This should be a wild game, I would imagine. Cincinnati doesn't have a trend this year. The Rams in Arizona, the Rams 27-6 the last 2 years, which is good because they had a lot of injuries. They did have Stafford, but he was injured. And of course, they still have the coach, and I can't think of his name. Tennessee play against this year 13-2. Play against Jacksonville 26-6. 13-3 as the Jacksonville, Tennessee. I don't know what I wrote there. Play against Tennessee 13-2. So Tennessee's 13-2, and play against them's 13-2. And then play against Tennessee for 2 years is 26-6. No. Play against Jacksonville is 13-2. Play against Tennessee's 13-2. Play against Tennessee the last 2 years is 26-6. That's what I'm trying to say. So Tennessee sucks against the line. 13-2. They're both 13-2 against because they both suck. Tampa Bay 29-5 in a teaser, even though they lost. Did they cover like yesterday? Yeah, they covered because they were -4, so you had +2. So that was a tie, which is a winner. So Tampa now 29-5, 13-2 this year. We give them credit for a W yesterday. If they tie, I'd call it a W. There are teaser cards that ties win, but they didn't lose, and that's how I look at it. A loss is a loss, a win's a win, and a tie is a win, I guess. I don't know. Indy and the Giants play against the Giants as a home dog is 8-0. Play against Indy's 27-5. Play against Indy this year 15-0. And if you play Indy, you're 13-2. So Indy plays a lot of close games, but if we take the Giants in 13.5, play against Tennessee, it's Indy, it's 15-0. So every time Indy plays, you bet against them, you win. If only life was that easy, huh? New Orleans is 12-3. Play against Oakland is 12-3 this year. I put the play against where I want it. But when I read it, it's confusing a little bit. So play against Oakland 12-3. New Orleans has no trend. I don't consider a trend 75 or 80%. It's got to be 85, 90 is all I care about. Green Bay 28-5 the last 2 years, which is good. Love's been there 2 years, so is the coach. Green Bay 11-0 as a road dog, and 13-1 this year. Green Bay before this game. Minnesota's the champs, though 29-3. Every week they cover. Since I found this trend, every week Minnesota, every week they win. 29-3, 5-0 as a home favorite, and 14-1 this year. So you got Minnesota's 14-1 this year, 29-3 for 2 years. Well, you didn't have Darnold last year. Okay, well, with them, they're 14-1. Green Bay had everybody. They're 28-5, 13-1 this year. So you got a 14-1 against the 13-1. Play a teaser, boys. The Jets play against as a road dog 7-0. Play against the Jets this year 14-1. Play Buffalo, you're 13-2. Play against the Jets for 2 years is 26-6. And Buffalo 6-1 is a home favorite, losing yesterday. So Buffalo 13-2, play against the Jets 14-1. If only this was an 8-point spread, we could go to we could bet all our gold on it. Play against Philly as a home favorite is 11-2. Dallas is 8-2 as a road dog, 6-0 as a road dog this year. It's funny how psychologically there's certain times that the team works. Even the Giants are a very good road dog. Certain teams play good at home. Certain teams play better on the road. Some play better as a dog. Some play better as a favorite. They all have psychological traits. So in this case, Dallas 6-0 as a road dog this year. Philly as a home favorite is bet against 11-2. So Philly, probably the fans get on them, so they're probably more nervous at home. So they're 11-2 against. So this is a Dallas trend. Washington is 13-2 this year. 5-1 is a home favorite. They're good at home. 13-2. That's all Daniels because last year they sucked. They were 13-2 against. And Detroit 11-1 is a road favorite. 12-3 overall. So they've had a couple of games that they didn't cover, but basically 11-1 as a road favorite, and they were a road favorite to Chicago. I can't imagine they're going to lose to the Niners. This is revenge for the championship game, and there's no way they're losing. So those are your teaser trends. We got to look at injuries, which I don't even know when they come out because of the fucking Wednesday game. We got to get tomorrow. I have to get the Wednesday games and hopefully the Thursday games. See, it's hard because let's say I want to lock Baltimore, and I'm looking and I go, well, I want to lock Baltimore with the Lions. I don't know the Lions' injuries yet. It's too early, but I know Baltimore because they play fucking Wednesday. This is the problem I run into when I want to lock, and I see this other lock, but I got to wait for the injuries or the weather or whatever. Or I'm ready to lock Cincinnati over against Winston and it's Thompson Robinson. So I gotta not lock the game because there's no way Thompson Robinson's going to score. Now it was so obvious to play Cincinnati. I can't believe I missed that, but I'm so torn into Cincinnati's going over, putting up 40 points with Jason Burrow and their terrible defense. But that's the thing. Thompson Robinson's there. Penix, I didn't know how to play. And then Mason Rudolph looks really good at Tennessee. I don't know why they went back to Levis. So you have that. So that's kind of what you're looking for. Earlier today, I had a huge play on UTSA. Coastal Carolina, half their team was in the transfer portal. The spread went from 8.5 when I bet it last week to 10.5 to 13.5. And UTSA wins 44-15. They kill them. They kill them. They kill them. They kill them, as Herman Munster would say. Let's look at the other game. I liked it under. Alex goes, what do you like in it? Well, Mikey Keene didn't play. Northern Illinois guys weren't playing. Let's see. $28-20 in 2 overtimes. So you really got fucked in this game. Northern Illinois 28-20 is a 48. Under was 40.5. 40. Here's where you would have gotten fucked in the overtimes. Let's see what was the score at the end of the game. It's 13-13. It's a 26. You've got it won. And the stupid overtime, they both score a touchdown in the first. That's 14. And then an 8 in the second. So you really get fucked because it goes a 13-13 game goes to overtime. That's what I hate about the college overtime, but I did not play that game. I did think it would be an under, as it was 13-13, but the stupid overtime rules. So 28-20 Northern Illinois. Tomorrow we got South Florida, San Jose State. Carson Beck is not going to play for Georgia. We'll have to see what that does. Let's look at a few lines. Now we got a game the 24 and 3 on the 26th. So that's Thursday. So we'll get more into that. I'm busy enough with the pros on Wednesday and Thursday. Tomorrow, San Jose State is 3-63 to South Florida. Let me go into the transfer portal. All right, let Let me refresh. All right, San Jose State transfer portal. Starting cornerback signed with USC. Starting cornerback signed with Arizona. Backup quarterback Emmett Brown went back to the future. San Jose State opt-out. Wide receiver Nash. Starting center also missed the finale. So San Jose State, their starting corners are out. And a wide receiver. Not too bad. San Jose State's an even team with the 26 defense. South Florida's an over team with the 29, likes to run the ball. South Florida, starting safety, I'm not even going to try, he's in the portal. Starting defensive tackle, Doug Blue Eli. Where did they get these names? He's on Rutgers. Starting guard, and a cornerback. Original starting quarterback, Brian Brown, hasn't played since week 5. Well, we know that with the lower body. However, head coach Alex Gulas said he has been practicing as healthy as he's been. So we do have South Florida's quarterback playing. Not a lot on the transfer portals there. And South Florida gets their quarterback back, and it looks like San Jose State's quarterback's going to play. Now, the total on the game, 63. 3-63. Let's see where this game's at. I love when they tell you where the game's at and they give you a fucking name of the stadium. You're like, well yeah, that helps me. So this game is at Clarence T.C. Ching Athletics. Oh my God, what is that? Oh, that really helps me. Clarence T.C. Ching Athletics. I shit you not. This is where the game's at. What kind of bullshit? I want the fucking city. I don't care about that. Let's look at the weather. So it's a warm weather. It's going to be 77 and a wind, 18, 15, 12, and 10. So the wind starts and dies down. No rain, sunny and clear. So you get a little wind. Won't bother South Florida. They run the ball down your throats. Let's take a look at South Florida. Well, they get their starting quarterback back, I guess. Archie was their quarterback, and Carter must be the running quarterback. They lost to Rice the last game, 35-28. They killed Tulsa 63-30. They killed Charlotte 59-24. They got killed by Navy 28-7 and beat Florida Atlantic 44-21. Who the fuck is you lost to Rice? San Jose State. You beat Stanford 34-31. You lost to Vegas 27-16. You lost to Boise 42-21. You beat Oregon State, and you lost to Mikey Keene 33-10. Their quarterback, Egon, against Stanford, he was 33 of 49, 4 touchdowns, so not too bad. And South Florida, I said, is an over. So I could see where this is going to be high scoring. Hey, Todd. Really? Oh, maybe Michigan is, Michigan. Yeah, but the tight end, Loveland, is probably going pro. I know he's sitting out the bowl. The cornerback sitting out the bowl, and the 2 defensive tackles who are first rounders are sitting out the bowl in typical Michigan fashion. Well, that'll be good. Michigan will actually have a real quarterback, and I'm sure he'll do much better there. And they got that new kid who signed, though, who's supposed to be, he's a really good high school player. That's the problem. And what did they pay him? $5-10 million? The high school guy to go to Michigan, and now here's Mikey Keene. How good? Somebody here is going to be the backup. So I don't know if Mikey Keene's going to start, and then the kid comes in. I don't know how Mikey Keene's going to take that. But anyway, so San Jose State, EGOT. let's see what he did. 3 touchdowns, 2 picks, 1 touchdown, no picks, 4 touchdown, 1 pick, 1 touchdown. Against Oregon State, 18 of 35, 400 yards, a touch and an interception. So, yeah, this is going to be pretty high scoring tomorrow. San Jose State, St. Florida. South Florida at the 29 defense and San Jose State at 26. I don't know if I'll play it. I might. If I do, I'll probably play it over, but I don't know. I have to find out uh, where Clarence TC Ching Athletics is. This is insanity. The fuck? What, you can't give me? It's in Alabama. It's in California. All right, homework for you guys. Where is TC Ching Athletics? What state is it in? Give me the. It's a warm weather, so it's probably Florida or well, San Jose State's California, South Florida's there. Then we got Pitt is 7-50 to Toledo. Let's check. Eli. Oh, this is in Detroit. I know where Ford Field is. Pitt and Toledo indoors at Ford Field. Pitt sucked, but let's see. They didn't have their quarterback. And is he playing? Eli Holstein, questionable with an ankle. He hasn't played. Toledo, bunch of questionables. Jesus Christ. They got 20 guys questionable. I assume they'll play. Toledo, Gleason's their quarterback. He throws the ball. They lost to Akron 21-14. He threw the ball 44 times. And they lost to Ohio. And they beat Central. Let's go to the portal. And let's see. Toledo, transfer portal, wide receiver, Larry Stevens, who the hell knows. Opt-outs, and a tight end, another receiver, a safety, and a defensive tackle. Starting left tackle, Alan Jones missed the finale, while starting safety, Emmanuel McNeil, hasn't played since week 9. So you got a few opt-outs, but not the quarterback. Pitt, transfer portal, quite a few. 2 defensive tackles, a wide receiver, a center, a linebacker, a cornerback, and a defensive end. Now, most of them, the one defensive tackle played 325 snaps and a wide receiver 285. Outside of that, probably third stringers that are going. And backup quarterback Nate Yarnell is transferring, which if Eli can't go, then they're really fucked. Pitt opt-outs, another wide receiver. Pitt potential opt-out, tight end. Starting quarterback, Eli Holstein, starting running back, missed the finale due to injuries. Starting left tackle, Branson Taylor hasn't played since week 6. Narduzzi said they should be healthier for the bowl game than they were in the regular season and expects 90% plus of his seniors to play, unlike the 2022 Sun Bowl. So these coaches are getting pissed off because they're losing the bowl games, and it's not good. Todd, I bet Green Bay -8. They're up 21-0 second quarter. Very good, Todd. I don't see a New Orleans scoring. I don't think they'll score. My score on the game was, did I have a score for I scored this week's game. No, I didn't have a score. I think it was like 33-0. Green Bay. I played Green Bay under 40. What's the under? It's 42, 43. So I'm under 48, 49, somewhere like that. Green Bay's got a pretty good defense. They need the game. New Orleans isn't going to do shit, but they have a pretty good defense. So we'll see. I like your action better than mine right now, but it's funny. They have a big first half and the second half scoreless. It's just you crack up. Like there's games I need like 10 points in the second half to win my over, and I got to sweat it to the last 3 minutes when I finally get the field goal or something. So Pitt looks like they'll be playing Toledo. He confirmed Reed would be ready to go, but wasn't positive on Holstein, although he sounded a bit optimistic. With Yarnell in the portal, the Panthers would turn to redshirt freshman David Lentz if Holstein isn't healthy enough. Even if he is healthy enough, how healthy is he if he's missing games? So you got to be careful with Pitt. Their backup's gone. Their starter's injured, but maybe plays. Watch the line. So right now, Pitt 7-50. It's on the 26th. So if we wake up, this game is at 2:00 on the 26th. So if you wake up and it's 10, 11 o'clock and this line is down to 5, he's not playing. If it's 7, then he probably is. Although I don't know if you want to play Pitt, but this is a game I run away from. Total of 50. Quarterback I don't know about. Toledo with a pretty good defense. Pitt, they're an over team, but without their quarterback, they're not. That's why the quarterback's the key. Then let's go to Rutgers, Kansas State. It's 6 and let's see if it's still 6.5, 51. Rutgers, Kansas State is 6.5, 50.5, same thing. And where's this game being played? Chase Field. Oh, well, that Chase Field, of course. How could I not know where Chase Field? Where the fuck's Chase Field? The weather, 64 and 2-mile-an-hour wind. So I don't really care where Chase Field is. The weather is fairly good. Rutgers with Kella Kamanis, the quarterback who sucked at Minnesota. Avery Johnson, Kansas State's quarterback, who's not as good as he usually is. Let's go to the transfer portal. The transfer portal tells us a little bit better on the injuries and everything. Rutgers, defensive end, transfer portal, wide receiver, transfer portal, linebacker. But the wide receiver hasn't played since week 8. Rutgers potential opt-outs. Well, when do we know? At game time? Cornerback looks like he might play based on an Instagram story. See, some of these teams, the guy will be on the opt-out, but they'll play anyway. Safety saying looks like he'll play. Running back Monogany, I think he's pretty good. Discussions are still going on as December 18th. This is the 23rd, but he made the trip based on Instagram. Oh, so everything's based on Instagram. Starting cornerback, starting defensive end, and starting safety didn't play in the finale. Rutgers won't have a defensive coordinator for the bowl game. Why are the coaches and coordinators leaving before the bowl game? I don't understand it. Where is he going? The defensive coordinator is leaving to do what? I mean, like it matters if he goes on the 26th, like he's going to be busy Christmas. Come on. Kansas State, starting right tackle, committed to Washington. Starting wide receiver, defensive back, and cornerback are in the transfer portal. K-State opt-outs, running back Giddens declared for the draft. He's pretty good. Cornerback Paris, never heard of, declared for the NFL draft, so they don't want to get hurt. These are guys I would not draft because they're not passionate about getting the opportunity to play. Should be more important than getting hurt. Right tackle Lengy and wide receiver Jackson will make their second starts of the season. Safety and left tackle will miss the bowl game with injuries. Okay. So the quarterback looks like he's playing for Kansas State. Rutgers quarterback sucks anyway. I don't think there's a big deal here with the transfer portal. Kansas State's a B team with a 22 defense. Rutgers is an E team with a 24. 6.5, 51. I would say in a Rutgers game, you probably want to go under, but I don't know. K-State, their defense wasn't as strong as usual. Arkansas State and Bowling Green will do that because that's also on the 26th, and that's as far as I'm going. Bowling Green, transfer portal, starting right tackle, starting linebacker, running back, defensive tackle, cornerback, left tackle, and wide receiver. They're in the transfer portal, and Bowling Green potential opt-outs a cornerback. Looks like he'll play based on social media. Star tight end Harold Fannin, I guess he's a star, said he'll play in the 68 Ventures Bowl. Reports also surfaced that all Bowling Green starters are expected to play. Now, that tells me that they want to win and they're going to play. Arkansas State starter cornerback is in the transfer portal, defensive end. 318 snaps, hasn't played since week 9, transfer portal, tight end, and backup cornerback. None of the above are on the bowl depth chart. Starting defensive tackle didn't play in the finale, but is on the bowl. So the 4 transfer portal guys are gone. Arkansas State's not a good team. Let's check the line. This could be a good play. Bowling Green, 7.5, 52.5. They're a B team with a 20 defense. Arkansas State's a W team with a 32. Yeah, let's go Bowling Green because, when all these guys are in the transfer portal, they realize they're Bowling Green and they can go to bigger schools, but they don't want to fuck everybody and the coach, so they have passion and they're going to play. And if they play, they're going to kill Arkansas State, who's a W team with a 32 defense. So let's mark Bowling Green down. Everybody who bought the bowls, you'll be seeing that one soon. Go Bowling Green, beat Navy. So I don't think, unless I might play the over tomorrow, but I haven't made up my mind. See, that's where it gets tough. South Florida, San Jose State. I think I watched one South Florida game when Flowers was the quarterback. San Jose State, do I know enough about them to go over 63, 57? Well, let's make the pick now. Let's go. South Florida. How to analyze 501. Everything's a master's class with me. So South Florida lost to Rice 30. So they gave up 25 to UAB, 21 to Florida Atlantic, 28 to the Navy, 24 to Charlotte, who sucks, 30 to Tulsa, who sucks, and 35 to Rice. So the last 6 games, their defense given up roughly 30 points. They put up 35 on UAB, 44 Florida Atlantic, 7 on the Navy, 59 on Charlotte, 63 on Tulsa, and 28 on Rice. So they've been scoring lately. South Florida. San Jose State gave up 14 to Wyoming, 33 to Mikey Keene, 13 to Oregon State, 42 to Boise, 27 to Vegas, 31 to Stanford. The Stanford one hands out because they suck. I can understand the Vegas and the Boise, and then holding Oregon State to 13, but then 33 to Mikey Keene. On the other hand, they scored 24 on Wyoming, 10 on Fresno, 24 Oregon State, 21 Boise, 16 to Vegas, and 34 to Stanford. So Vegas and Boise have good defenses, not Fresno State. I don't know. The more I look at it, the more I like South Florida as the dog, I think. Will they get to 63? I don't know. Well, they don't really have a good defense, South Florida. I think they could. I think it's iffy. It's probably 50-50. I think South Florida 9 is probably a little bit better play, but again, do I want to play this type of game? No. Let's go to the playoffs. So, what do we hear? Everybody, uh, you had what, 4 blowouts. Notre Dame, Indiana. We got lucky with Indiana, scored 2 touchdowns in the last minute for us to cover the 13 and a half. Then um, we get SMU, Penn State. We go over 48. It went down to 46. So people were buying from me Friday, Saturday, won it because it ended up being 48. I get a push, but everybody who got the pick would have won because I played it early. So Penn State, SMU does go over. Jennings looked terrible. Then we get to Texas and Clemson. I knew Texas would kill them. I go under because of Texas's defense and the way Clemson played Georgia and Georgia Tech and a few others. But the game goes over. And then the Ohio State game, they never stopped scoring. We still had it won. It was the lock going under 50. What was the under? 53. It goes 59, but we're winning, I think, with 2 minutes left. Tennessee scores. I knew the quarterback sucked. Where was Tennessee's defense? And don't tell me it was cold. So what I got out of this was if the game was at Tennessee, they might have won. If the game was at Clemson, SMU, and Indiana, might have had different results. I think it's totally unfair to play these games they should be it's a playoff, should be at a neutral site, I believe. I think there was a huge advantage these first round games at home. The second round games are not at they're at neutral sites. So I think it was a terrible it made it look worse. The Indiana Notre Dame, okay, should Indiana have been in? Who knows? SMU, yeah, they should have been in there. Penn State didn't play like that all year. Clemson should not have been in there, but they backed in with the Miami loss. Texas should have been there. Tennessee, I thought Ole Miss was better than Tennessee because I didn't like their quarterback. Ole Miss would have gave them a much better game, and they have 2 stud defensive ends, Ole Miss. Tennessee's defense didn't show up. Where was this when Ohio State played Michigan? Can anybody explain where the fuck was this offense? They didn't even throw the ball to the kid. Now, did Michigan just double team him and Tennessee forgot to look at the game film of the Michigan game? How do you let the 17-year-old wide receiver burn you? That's the first thing you don't let happen is let him burn you. Where was the double team? I mean, I thought Tennessee got just terribly outcoached. Their defense, now they beat Alabama like 24-17. I mean, Alabama didn't score on them. So I don't know. I think Miami should have been in ahead of probably Clemson. They're a much better team. I think Louisville would have played better than some of these teams. Tennessee, not that Alabama shouldn't be there, but I think Ole Miss. You gave Clemson because they won the ACC, but what were they? They were probably were they in the top 25 after the losing to Georgia 33-3? You're putting them in the playoff? Were you kidding me? I had no problem with Ohio State and Texas. Clemson never should have been there. Penn State should not have been after losing to Oregon. Notre Dame looked good. Indiana, I thought, should have been in there. But I don't believe you should have had 4 Big Ten teams. I don't think Penn State should have been there. Ohio State, for sure, Oregon. Now, what the fuck is Ohio State playing Oregon now? Who designed this crap? So I think should never have been on the campus. I think that's a huge advantage in a playoff. Very unfair advantage because what was it based on? Record? Penn State with 2 losses, Ohio State with 2 losses should never be hosting. Texas, okay, and Notre Dame, okay, but they lost to Northern Illinois. Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. So these were not a couple of these teams shouldn't have been there. All right, Clemson for sure should not have been there, and I doubt Tennessee has much of a chance going to Ohio State. Now, if you played that game in Florida, Tennessee plays them much better, I think. Again, I'm worried. Where was Ohio State doing this to Michigan? How the fuck did they not score 10 points on Michigan and then put up 42 here? What I don't understand that. Ohio State's more like the 10-point team than the 40-point team. Okay, so let's look at round 2. We've got real quick, Bobby. Baylor's a 1-point favorite over your LSU. That line changed. We'll have to look why later. That's December 31st. All right, we got 4 games. 3 of these games, I do not understand the spread. They're all fucked. You've got Penn State, 11.5, 52 to Boise. Are you kidding me? Okay, Penn State at home against SMU. Okay, this is not Penn State at home. They are not playing SMU. I don't know where this game's at, but it's against Boise. Now, why did Boise get the bye? I think it should have been SMU Boise, Indiana Boise. That would have made sense. Or Arizona State should have been in the first round. Why did they get byes? That whole thing made no sense to me. I don't know why there are byes and why it's on 16 teams. If you play them on neutral field, these scores are way different than what you got here, right? Ohio State does not win 42-7 if the game's at Michigan, right? Penn State, okay, they win at home. If the game's in the Cotton Bowl, they don't win. Penn State went to Minnesota and won 26-25. Okay, so don't tell me they went to USC and won 33-30. Don't give me this shit. They played at home. It was a huge disadvantage to the road team. But Boise should never have gotten a bye. It's probably what should have went to Notre Dame. Arizona State, why did they get a bye? Georgia makes sense. Oregon makes sense. So now we get some really screwy second rounds. Okay, first of all, Oregon should be playing Boise, and Georgia should get Arizona State. What the fuck are they doing? Oregon should never be playing Ohio State. First of all, they're both Big Ten, but secondly, Ohio State's a much better team than Boise or Arizona State or Notre Dame. So I don't understand that. So let's look at this. We got Penn State 11.5, 52. There's no fucking way Penn State's winning this game by 11.5. Now, yes, Boise played Oregon 37-34. Boise can score. Their defense has been playing much better. Let's see where this game is at. All right. Penn State, Boise, State Farm Stadium. Well, that still doesn't help me. Where the fuck? Why do they call it the stadium name? I want to know where the game's fucking played at. Oh, God, State Farm Stadium. I won't look now. I'll look later. Arizona, thank you. Oh, this is the Fiesta Bowl. Oh, Boise in the Fiesta Bowl. All right, Todd. So that's your homework. Where are these games at? So Boise is in. Well, why wouldn't it be called like Sun Devil Stadium or the Arizona Cardinals? I assume that's at the Arizona Cardinals play. So you've got the time zone in favor of Boise. Penn State's got to travel west. I can't believe they're allowed. See, this is the problem with betting that most people are clueless. Most people are looking at Penn State playing SMU at home, and they won 38-10, thinking it's going to be the same. Well, I got news for you. Boise's quarterback's a lot better than Jennings as a passer, and the fact that they've got, Gentry, the best running back in football, Penn State's going to just stop him like nothing. Okay. They beat Vegas twice, who has a good defense as Penn State. Vegas with a 22 defense, and Penn State's got a 16, 17. Okay. Boise with the 23 defense. So Boise's a B with the 23. Penn State's an A with the 16. Do we forget that Oregon just put up, what did Oregon do? 45-37. You want to say Penn State's got a good defense, and Oregon lights them up for 45. Penn State wasn't even in the game. Okay, so Penn State's starting to score 38 on SMU. Boise beat Vegas 21-7 on a cold night. Vegas is a pretty good team. They didn't play in the bowl yet. I think it's coming up. If I can find them. Oh, no, they played Cal. They beat Cal 24-13. I knew they played, yeah. So Vegas, pretty good team, 24-13. 21-7 with Boise. So Boise beat Vegas twice. They only lost to Oregon 37-34. Well, let's not count that game. Well, why wouldn't we? I mean, I heard that on the radio. Well, the Oregon game, that was way back though, Yeah, so it didn't count. At what point do you want to start counting these games, right? To put up 34 on Oregon, they will score on Penn State. If you think this is going to be 45-0 Penn State, I got some oceanfront property here in Detroit, as I like to sell idiots. This spread's way out of line. I didn't make my own spread yet because I already knew what that spread was. It would have probably been 7. No way, double digit. That's just insanity. Penn State 16 defense until they played Ohio State. They gave up 27. It should have been. And Oregon put up 45 on them. So you want to tell me they got a 16 defense and they gave up 45 to Oregon? And this is where I have problems because I think, they got this tough defense and then they give up 45 points. And I'm like, wait, what am I thinking? Now, I did play Oregon. That was a lock. Oregon was only -3, which was a joke. Oregon's getting no credit. Next game, Texas, 13.5, 52 to Arizona State. Oh, really? And where's this game at? Let's see if I can figure it out. All right, Texas, Arizona State, and this is that. Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So this is either in New Orleans or it's in Atlanta. I don't care. It's indoors. Let's call it New Orleans. It doesn't matter, New Orleans or Atlanta. It's inside. Arizona State has to travel east. So does Texas. So why are they playing this game in New Orleans? Both teams are A teams. Texas is 13.5, 52. Texas is a 15 defense, maybe. Although Georgia put up 22 on them and 30 on them. They've got a pretty good defense. They beat Clemson 38-24. I don't see a 15 defense. Arizona State beat Iowa State 45-19, who has a very good defense, Iowa State, a 20 defense. You're 13 and a half, really. Texas is not at home, and they're not playing a weak quarterback in SMU. Their quarterback, Jennings, really, he's more of a runner than he is a passer. Texas with a pretty good defense. We got Scatterboo, and Arizona State's got a good quarterback and a 21 defense. Explain to me 13 and a half points. This is not at home, and they're not playing fucking Clemson, who didn't even Miami. If they would have done that to Miami, I'd be okay. They luck out and don't play Miami, and for some reason, Clemson's in with 3 losses. What? Well, you're going to have a playoff. At least have a playoff. Maybe have the best teams in it. Why are you giving an automatic berth to a team with 3 losses? What are they even doing in it? Oh yeah, because they lost to Georgia in a non-conference 33-3. Yeah, let's put them in. All right, so where are you getting this? This line's insanity. 13.5. Arizona State's an excellent team. Okay, A team, 21 defense. They put up 47 on Iowa State, who always has a good defense. They have a good quarterback and a very good running back. Wow. Again, this line is way too high. What are they thinking? These must be the stupidest gamblers in the world in Vegas. Oh, I'll lay 13.5 with Texas. What the fuck? Who's setting these lines? The Three Stooges? What idiot is setting Penn State 11.5, Texas 13.5? Why? Because Boise, what? They only won their con, beat Vegas, and lost to Oregon by 3. They're not a good team now. Then why'd you put them in the playoffs? Well, they won the mountain. They were the best Big 5 team. Well, okay. And then Arizona State won the Big 12, who had Colorado. They beat BYU, who has a better defense than Penn State or than Texas. BYU's defense, I don't even know if I have it on here. I do. Where are they? They're playing Colorado. BYU's got a 20 defense. All right. Arizona State beat them 29-24 at home. That's about what the type of game you're going to get here. Maybe a little more scoring, but BYU had just as good of a defense as Texas. Okay. They had a great defense. They beat them. 21 defense, Texas with the 15. They played Oklahoma, who had no offense. They lost to Georgia twice. So what kind of defense does Arizona State have? Obviously, that bothers Georgia and Urs. Total of 52. Yeah, that's nothing makes sense on these lines. Then we get to the caviar or the filet mignon game. Ohio State, you've got to be kidding me, are 2.5 point favorites, 53.5 to Oregon. Seriously? Oregon's the dog. Am I reading this right? I don't know. Let me check the spread. I better put my bet in before it changes. Ohio State 2.5, 55. Are you kidding me? Ohio State's favored. The team that lost to Michigan is favored in this game. This game is not at Ohio. It's in the fucking Rose Bowl. I know that. Why is it being played now? This should be maybe your championship game. If they could beat Georgia, it should be Oregon, Georgia, Ohio State, Notre Dame, or Texas. That's your Final Four. But now what you have here, what the fuck are they doing? There's no way Ohio State's favored in this game. No. I'm going to bet my house on Oregon at 8.5. I'll tell you that right now. That is a joke. Okay. They played a good Penn State team, right? And they killed them. They beat them 45-37. a good Penn State team who just destroyed SMU, and they killed them. Penn State couldn't stop them. They played the first game and they won 33-32 or something like that at Oregon. Ohio State can't stop this team. Nobody can stop this team. Maybe Georgia when they had my guys, but not now. You got to be fucking kidding me. In the Rose Bowl, and you think Ohio State, who beat Tennessee at home on the freezing cold, is going to go to the Rose Bowl and do this to Oregon? Are you out of your fucking minds? Oh my! This is pure fucking insanity. Okay, this is unbelievable. Not only do I love Oregon as a dog, but you got to love the over in the game. 53. You're not stopping Oregon. Okay, Ohio State already tried, and here's where Todd Day, the coach, is going to come in. Where the fuck did I just hit this? I lost my little top. That was a weird thing. Okay, anyway. This will be a very high scoring game, and Oregon 8.5 ain't losing. They're not losing to the Pittsburgh Steelers with 8.5. Their quarterback's 100 times better, Gabriel, and he can run good. And their offense, they always have guys wide open. I've never seen anything like it. He'll scramble around, and then boom, he throws it in the middle of the field, and there's nobody within 15 yards of the receiver, and he's turning it up and going. Ohio State, Oregon will take away the little 17-year-old, and Howard, no, and then their defense, not a chance against this team. This isn't the Tennessee quarterback who can't throw it and wants to play volleyball. This is the top pick in the NFL draft. He's basically the same as Bo Nix and Daniel. He's a very good runner, very good thrower. You got to be kidding. Sorry, Todd. I still like Bowling Green as a pick teaser. Yeah, well, I just said that. Yeah. So there's a great underplay game. Which game is that? Which is the underplay game? It ain't Oregon, Ohio State. Of these championship games, well, what are we looking at here? Penn State and Boise is not an under game. Yeah, maybe, but I'm too. I'll take Boise in 17. Thank you. Oh, Vegas, Cal. Yeah, that we did play it under. Yeah, I played that under. Not Penn State. Boise's not an under. Oregon, Ohio State will be played over and will be played Oregon and 8.5. I might have a huge lock with the pro game and Oregon, and I'm going to put Oregon in at least two locks. Okay, Oregon should be a 3-4 point favorite. I mean, what part of they just killed Penn State? It was in Indy, so it was a neutral, and they killed them. And Penn State couldn't even stop them. And then all I hear, oh, look how good Penn State's defense was. Yeah, against SMU with a quarterback that sucked. Tennessee's quarterback sucked, so Ohio State looks good. Do we not remember that Oregon beat Ohio State 32-31 in Oregon? I think I was in Italy at the time, so that was in October. Did we forget about that? And this game's in the Rose Bowl, so Oregon doesn't have the time travel, and Ohio State does. What am I missing here? How the fuck is this? You got to be nuts. There's no way Ohio State's going to win a big game. All right, you choked 4 times in a row to Michigan. You're not beating Oregon. Sorry. You couldn't beat Michigan. You're going to beat Oregon. Yeah, bullshit. Love Oregon here. There's no way they're losing. And I'm getting 8.5. Okay. And the last game, let's see where this game. This I know is the Rose Bowl and Georgia, Caesars Superdome. So one of them's. I think this is New Orleans. So they're it's either New Orleans or I think this is New Orleans and the others in Atlanta. They're calling it the Peach Bowl. It ain't the Peach Bowl. Why do they call it that? Just it's a fucking playoff game. You don't have a name when Baltimore plays Pittsburgh. It's not at the toilet bowl or anything. All right, our last game is Georgia 1.5, 44.5. All right. Now, the quarterback's out. Beck is out for Georgia. So they got the backup who's more of the runner who did end up winning the Texas game. He did beat Texas in the second half. I blame Beck for his injury. You've got to feel that the defender's around you. So he goes back to pass and the guy hits his arm. You got to feel that. You can't just, throw it like there's nobody there. It's football. There's defensive linemen around you. Georgia 1.5 with the backup quarterback. Notre Dame, you ain't running the ball on my Georgia team. Not going to happen. Riley Leonard's going to be the weak link here. Georgia, though, with the backup quarterback, I think this has got to go under because you've got a 13 defense in Notre Dame who basically had Indy 27-3. Okay, give them 27-11. They got lucky on the onside kick. So they held a really high-powered offense, Indiana to 17. They only scored 27 on Indy. You're not scoring more than that on Georgia. It ain't going to happen. Georgia in the big games will come through their defense. They'll blitz the fuck out of Notre Dame. They will not let Riley Leonard win. Georgia wins this game, but with the backup quarterback, it's going to be like a 17-14 type of game, like the old Bear Bryant, Notre Dame, Alabama games and the Sugar Bowls in the 70s. Without Beck, they're not going to do much. But Notre Dame, if you think this Love kid's going to run for 100 yards on Georgia, you're out of your mind. Okay, so they pounded Texas with a really good defense. Notre Dame, good defense. This should be a defensive struggle. Georgia probably wins 20-17 or somewhere in that neighborhood. Notre Dame could be a live dog because you don't have the Georgia quarterback, but you got the Georgia coach and the defense. And when they got in the big games this year, twice they took down Texas, who's got just as good a defense. Well, let's see. Texas has a 15 defense. Notre Dame has a 13. Ohio State's got an 11 sometimes, except for when they play Oregon. So, again, you got to be careful with the 13s and the 11s and the 15s. They're just guides. As we saw, Penn State's got a 16 defense, gave up 45 to Oregon. It's all who is the quarterback and the offense. You're not stopping them. There's no fucking way. Ohio State's not stopping Oregon. Texas is not stopping Arizona State. And I doubt Penn State's going to stop Boise. And so you got Notre Dame, Georgia. Notre Dame's probably a live dog here getting 7.5. It's going to be a very physical, low-scoring game. That's all I can say. I get 44.5. I can go under 50. That seems like a very good play there. Not as good as my Oregon-Ohio State play. That is a joke. This could be a 50-star lock, Oregon at 8.5. It's such a bad line. How is Oregon not favored? Okay. And when did Ohio State become good? Again, they couldn't beat Michigan. So everybody wants to forget that, right? Well, yeah, but look what they did to Tennessee, who doesn't have a quarterback, who was so cold that Ohio State scored the first 4 times they had the ball. I didn't know what I was watching. I had to turn it off because I had the game under. Where's Tennessee's defense? Well, I know where Oregon's defense is going to be. It's going to be right on the field. So I think Notre Dame, Georgia's 20-17 type of game. I don't know. This Georgia quarterback did beat Texas. I'll be surprised if Georgia loses, but I'll be surprised if they're not going to blow out Notre Dame. And Notre Dame's not going to be able to run on Georgia. No fucking way does anybody run on Georgia. So it's going to be Riley Leonard. Can he throw the ball? And I haven't seen him throw the ball too often. He's going to be on his ass at least 10 times. I'll give him 5 sacks because Georgia's going to come after him. When Georgia gets threatened, they blitz the fuck out of you. And when they blitz, they get to the spot before the quarterback. So it's going to be a nightmare for Riley Leonard with this pressure package Georgia likes to run. Great secondary, and they can tackle. So Notre Dame, they're not at home, and they're not playing Indiana. Again, I think this spread should be like 4-6 points, Georgia. Okay, I get backs out, but the backup did beat Texas, played the whole second half. So that's what you have there. Now, why in the world is Penn State playing Boise and Texas playing Arizona State? What are they? How did they get the buys? What's going on here? Texas should have got a bye, but they lost to Georgia, but still they were the better team. Penn State shouldn't have been in it. SMU, it should have been Miami, but SMU was okay. No, SMU lost to Clemson. They shouldn't have been in it. Should have been Miami. Penn State shouldn't have been there. And Indiana, Notre Dame, I agree with. Texas, yeah, not Clemson. Tennessee, it was a terrible draw with Ohio State. But I thought that in a playoff, you can't have home field like that. If the game was at Tennessee, I think Tennessee would have won. That's the whole point of it. Ohio State, it was cold, and you get that home field advantage is ridiculous. You cannot do that in a playoff like this. You cannot have home field advantage like this. That's why they were all blowouts. That was ridiculous. But again, so people think Texas is just going to kill Arizona State. Out of their fucking minds. Are you not watching the games? Did you not see Arizona State beat BYU, and then they beat Colorado, I believe, and then they in the last game beat Iowa State, who got a good defense. And Boise, we're forgetting Gentry. He gets 200 yards a game, and Penn State's just going to shut him out because they're such a good defense against Oregon. Come on. This is a joke. So these lines are all fucked up. The only line I kind of agree with is Georgia should be a 4. Oregon should be favored. Texas by a touchdown, and Penn State's a 3-pointer against a good Boise team. I mean, who played Oregon 37-34. Let's forget that game. That game really didn't happen, or, it doesn't count because it was Oregon, but they played it in October. I mean, Jesus Christ. Unbelievable. So those lines are so fucked. So again, people, this is the problem. People think they're watching what they saw last week. They don't understand. This is like poker. Every hand is different. You had pocket aces. Now you got 3-9. How are you going to play it the same way? All right. Penn State beat SMU at home. But this is not at home, and this is not SMU. This is Boise. They will be lucky to win. We did see Penn State get blown out by Oregon and lost to Ohio State. They didn't play Indiana, and they didn't even play Michigan. They barely beat Maryland, and they barely beat Minnesota. They beat Minnesota 26-25 or 28-27. They beat USC 33-30. Oh, but let's ignore those games because you know what? They beat SMU at home last week. Yeah, but they're not at home. And this is Boise with a killer running back, a first-round running back. They're just going to shut him down. And Boise, they got a quarterback, and they got a defense. So anyway, and same thing with Arizona State. Scadaboo is a first-round draft pick, not as good as Gentry. And this is where the runners, you can't stop. When the runner wants to go, he's going to go. And you're going to play action the shit out of these teams with these running backs because they've got to, add a guy into the box to stop the run, and that's going to open up the passing. And Arizona State's got a good quarterback. So does Boise. So again, Oregon being a dog is like, thank you, God. I found my 50-unit lock, and it's called Oregon. I'll probably play it both ways. I love the 8.5, and I love the over because Ohio State's going to score. They can't stop Oregon. So I love it both ways. And then Notre Dame, Georgia, probably an under because you got the back. We don't know enough about the backup quarterback. He must be good for Georgia to recruit him and for him to be the backup to Beck. Beck's got surgery. He's out. So he's somewhat of a runner. I saw that, which bothers me. Hopefully Georgia gets healthy. Their running backs have been a problem. Hopefully they get them and they can pound Notre Dame. Notre Dame will pressure them, but good luck Notre Dame running the ball in Georgia. That ain't going to happen. So that's our bowls. It's hard to get into like some of these. We got to wait. Army and L Tech, Colorado, BYU, Michigan, Alabama. I already know Michigan's 4 of their guys are wimping out like they always do. I'm really curious, Miami, Iowa State. Right now, it looks like Cam Ward is playing, but he might, I got to get ready for the draft. Bullshit. USC, I think, is a live dog to A&M because the backup cried and left when he sucked, and then Maivia from Vegas comes in, and he's been playing well. And let's not forget, Notre Dame gave up 35 to USC throwing the ball. Well, Georgia can throw the ball. Now, again, with the backup quarterback, but I'm sure he can throw the ball. We just haven't seen it yet. We haven't seen the guy. But he's got the balls to beat Texas in the second half, right? So give him some credit for that. And, I'm not sure that Penn State or Texas even wins the games. I know Oregon's going to win, and then you got to just believe Georgia. And again, I don't get these games. Why Oregon should be playing Arizona State, and then Georgia should be playing Boise, and then go let Texas play Penn State and Notre Dame, Ohio State. Who's coming up with these games? Do you want Texas to win? You give them Arizona State. Do you want Penn State ain't winning? They can't handle Oregon, so I don't know what they're doing. It's the stupidest playoff I've ever seen. You finally get 12 teams instead of 16. You don't even pick the best 12. You don't have you got Clemson in it, shouldn't be in it. All right, okay without Alabama, Ole Miss, where are they? Tennessee, did they belong? Now with that quarterback. SMU, okay, but your choice of Penn State, Texas, Notre Dame, Ohio State was terrible. Those were not the worst 4 teams, and they should never have been the home fields. What are you thinking? So kind of pissed with this playoff. Now you got these 4 games. It's just stupid. Penn State plays Boise, and then you got Ohio State, Oregon, and Notre Dame, Georgia. Who are these idiots in charge of this? And what is this for TV money? You got a bigger audience. You're going to have a bigger audience, Ohio State, Oregon, than any other game you got. Maybe Georgia, Notre Dame, but that should be your final. Your final game should be Oregon and Georgia. That should be your final. It's just stupid. Anyway, that's what's going on. So it's a busy week. So today was my last day until next week. It's not my last day. It's my last day before the break. So I asked my boss and the teams. I just wrote them. I said they're not paying me for the holidays. I am kind of an employee, but I'm doing contract because you guys take 90 days to hire somebody, but you wanted me to start right away. Can you pay me for the fucking holidays? I don't think it's right that I'm losing all this pay when if I was an employee, I'd get paid for the 2 weeks. So I don't know. I keep bugging them like, you do want me to be an employee, don't you? Then you better, I'm highly in demand, so you better not fuck around with me. So we'll see about that. But anyway, so I am off. So ribs and chicken for Christmas. I'm gonna go to barbecue, and I'm gonna go tomorrow because I don't know if they're open Christmas. I don't want to be running there, so I'm gonna carry out, and then I'll heat it up on Wednesday, and that'll be Christmas, and watching football on Netflix. I don't know. I was gonna go to Vegas, but I hate these resort fees. It's such a joke, and I keep watching The Gambler with James Caan. And there's a scene in it when he's in his hotel room and you see the Stardust sign. And it's the only one you see. You don't see the dunes. You don't see the Sahara. You don't see the, what's this? You don't see the Sands or the DI. None of them lit up. I don't even know if this is 1973. And there you see the Stardust. And that's what I loved about Vegas. And it lights up this beautiful light up. Do I have Stardust? I do have their chip, but I don't have it out. And it's a nice, like this, and it's blue, and then it lights up and it turns white. That's what I loved about Vegas. That's what I miss is the lights lighting up, and it was very pretty. And so I just watched that scene when he goes on the run. I've explained this to you guys before. He's an idiot. I mean, he hits 13 passes in a row at craps. Why did you stop? You didn't 7 out. You hit the point and then you walked away. Then you go to roulette and you hit red 7 for $12,000 and you leave. You finally got what you want. You're on your streak and you leave. Then he goes and plays backrack. He hits 3 hands in a row with 2 natural 8s, and he hits an 8 on a 2. He hits a 6 for an 8. He wins 3 hands in a row. He gets up and leaves. Then he goes to Caesars to play blackjack, and he hits a double down on 18 and gets the 3 for the 21. And he leaves, and you're like, this is the dumbest gambler I've ever seen in my life. You're on the streak of a life. It's like me going 20-0 in football. You do not leave a table when you're on a hot streak. That's what you wait for. That's how he got in trouble losing 44 grand was he was on a cold streak, right? He kept playing and he kept losing. He didn't have any discipline to say, I've hit my limit. I got to leave. I'll wait for my hot streak. So here he's on his hot streak. The guy could have won $1 million fucking bucks. And this is 1973. So he wins $45,000. He should have won $500,000. Should never have quit craps. He should have played roulette until at least 5-6 more times. He should still be at the backrack table hitting 2 natural 8s, 1 3 in a row. Where are you going? And then he doubles down on an 18, and he says, "That's it." Where are you in? Do you not understand anything about gambling or streaks? That's exactly what you look for. And then you pound it. And that's what you do. That's how you gamble. You wait for your streak and you hit it until it stops. If red hits and you've hit red 10 times in a row, you don't leave. If the last one was red and you won with it, you're not going anywhere. You're going and you're staying there betting red until black hits. And it could be an hour. That's how you gamble. You play your streaks and you just keep going with it until it runs. When I first started with blackjack, my uncle was showing me how to bet it. I knew how to play it, but I didn't know how to bet it. So he says you keep increasing your units. And then It was like you go 1 unit, 2 units, 3, 5, 5, 7, 10, 10. So you're increasing and you're pulling back some. I started with $5. I was up to $185 a hand. And I kept going until I finally lost the $185 hand. And I lost like with 20 or something. The dealer pulled 21 out of her ass. But I'm up one. I'm playing $185 a hand, and then until I lost, and then I went back to $5. And but that's the point of it. That's what you're waiting for. Why do you think I look at all the streaks in football? That's what we wanna bet on Washington and Minnesota's 20. What Minnesota's now 29-3. You don't think we want to keep betting Minnesota and Detroit? And that's exactly what you want. And you want to bet against the shit teams. Oh, the Jets are 14-1 against. We want to keep betting against the Jets and taking Minnesota and Detroit. That's the whole idea of it, because you're really getting rid of the thinking. You're playing the hot teams until they start losing, and then okay, and I get off. That's the point of it. That's how you win at it. Anyway, it's like, but I only watched the movie to see the Stardust sign light up. It's 1973. There's not a big, there's the strips there, but there's gas stations and restaurants. It's not, I think the DI was there, and the sands and the dunes. I know the dunes was there because he was playing craps at the dunes. But yeah, I mean, that's when you had the bright light. Caesars was there. Caesars is always there. I think they built it in 65 or something. And it was always like just the whole Roman idea. It was always great to stay there. And the Asian spare ribs and the buffet were fantastic. Anyway, let's go to Egon. So I want to show you Egon. Any more football? Just ring in.
Let's talk about acorns. Everyone knows it as the app that investors spare change. But how did it start? Where did this idea?
Okay, Egon. This is 30 minutes. We won't do the whole thing, but just the key points. So he talks about Bitcoin. He talks about the price. Why aren't the prices going up? And he says by the end of January, I believe, we're going to see some serious shit here. All right, so let's go to Egon. Bobby, you still with us? Todd, anybody have football questions, just go on. I think I've pretty much covered it. And I do have to put on my economics hat because this is very good and important. Now, I teach you this, and I bring in Egon or Mark McGuire because we have the same mindset and the same ideas, and I try to stick away from Peter Schiff and Andy Scheckman and all these other guys that are just, they don't understand it, and I don't want to waste your time and give you bad views. You'll never see me show you Michael Saylor with Bitcoin because Bitcoin's bullshit, and we know that. So I don't want to waste your time with crap. So I only want to show you stuff that it's like a second, it's like, this is what I'm telling you, but look, Egon's saying that too. So it reconfirms that, not that you need to, because you're hearing it from me, you should know all this going in. So let's do a little bit of Egon here.
There are a lot of deliveries from London now going to New York because they expect that there will be a lot of deliveries of physical comics in coming months, and that will put real pressure on the gold price upwards.
Ladies and gentlemen,
A month has nearly passed. I welcome Egon von Greyerz there in Britain. Egon, great to see you today, not to our normal interview, but to our Q&A session. Great to see you.
Good to be with you as always, Jan, and an interesting year end and interesting beginning of next year. So we will have enough to talk about, I'm sure.
This is
For the
today,
next
10
few
hours
months
ago.
at least.
And you know, Egon, the Chinese saying, may you live in interesting times. Okay, this is more than interesting. But
Yes.
let's come to our questions. Before we start, Egon, there are some very interesting shorts taken out of Egon's presentation at Forum 1. You will find a link here in the description and in the text. Have a look at them. Precious metals are still under the radar screen. The big markets, the Dow Jones has lost already a bit from the record high, but Bitcoin seems to be unstoppable with no intrinsic value at all. We may be, and that is a realistic possibility, we may face World War III, the Buffett indicator high as never before, but nobody seems to care. Are we wrong, or is there a collective amnesia in the investment community? Something stinks here. What do you think?
Well, Jan, first of all, I don't think Bitcoin is a competitor to gold from a point of wealth preservation. If you talk about it as a speculative investment, yes, but gold is not a speculative investment as far as I'm concerned. So everybody's comparing Bitcoin with gold, but you know, as we have discussed, there are only 0.5% of world financial assets in gold. And the market cap of all the gold ever produced is something like $17 trillion. Bitcoin is what? $2 trillion. So it's a very small market, and if you compare to the bigger asset markets, global sovereign bond markets, 130 trillion, stock markets, also something like 100 trillion worldwide, and you could take property market also massive. So Bitcoin is so small, but it's sexy. People like it because it's speculative and it goes up and it goes down, and a lot of people have made a lot of money on it. But it shouldn't be compared to gold, and it's not a competitor to gold in my view. People say that should I have Bitcoin or gold? Most of the gold buyers are not Bitcoin buyers, and most of the Bitcoin buyers are not interested in gold. There are some with a crossover, very few. So, the real competitors to gold, if you want to, are the stock markets, the bond market, and to some extent, property market also, because that's where all the major assets are. And since they have, all of these markets have been going up without stop since, let's say, 1981, 82, when stock market started going up. So, and then people are, that's where most of the assets in the world or the funds in the world are, into those major markets. And therefore, I think it's when these markets turn, that's when gold is going to go up. And very little to do with Bitcoin, which is not a real competitor at all to gold, the way that I look at it.
Let's come to the first question, Egon. Is it possible that investors who are not yet in the gold market engaged are deterred by the high price and want to wait for a setback that is unlikely to come? We must remember that 1 year's US interest payment spending alone is equivalent to 3 years of gold and silver production.
Yes, well, you can compare gold to lots of different markets, but I think to compare it to the, as you said, to the interest markets, interest is going to go up to trillions. It's around 1 trillion now. It's going to go up to several trillion coming years. Interest rates are going to go up to over 10% in my view, and the debt is going to go up also. So that will be one of the drivers of gold, interest rates. But the main drivers will be the deficit. What was actually the question here, Jan?
It was not really a question. It was only a relationship to show how insane the valuation of the precious metals, only in comparison to the US interest expenses at current level already is.
So you're asking also if the price is too high and people are waiting for a correction.
Right.
Well, that, in my view, will disappoint them, because I don't think this time the move up in gold will happen more or less simultaneously with the move down in stock markets. And I think that is not far away. It could happen in the next few weeks, or it can happen in the first quarter of 2025. And we are not to compare this to 2008, totally different situation. This time, gold will not go down when stock markets go down. Gold, it might go down for a couple of days or a few days or so, but it's not going to be down for over a year. Well, I think it was in 2008. So when people move out of the stock market, some of those funds will come into the gold market. I expect the gold market to have a major move starting in the first quarter 2025 and then continuing for a long time. So I would, people who wait for the gold price to come down will lose, I think, the first big move. Or miss the first big move. So therefore, I would suggest now is the time to buy. When we're seeing a sideways correction now, when that's finished, we're going to have big moves up again.
Let's come to the ETF topic. I am interested in how much gold.
All right, let's take a break. So just to recap, so Bitcoin is, as I said, baseball cards and gold's money. They're not really, they're both, you're in Bitcoin because you want to make money. You don't use it as money because you're not spending it. You don't go to the grocery store, the restaurant, and spend your Bitcoin the way we do with the monopoly money, right? But gold is money, and gold we're buying for two reasons: to get out of the bullshit dollars, and because we know gold's about to go to the moon. It's going to go way up because of the debt, because of all the problems, printing, the inflation, printing the money, making it worthless. You got to get out. Bitcoin's not an option where you want to be because it is still money. It is valued in money, which is going out. There's nothing they can do to stop it. Trump can say what he wants, and Biden can say what he wants, and Elon Musk can do whatever the fuck he wants. You cannot do that. So what Egon's saying is it's apples and oranges. If you want to make some money and you go into Bitcoin, well, if you're in it at 100,000, you're losing money. Good luck making money at 100 grand, and good luck when the money goes to zero. What's the value of the Bitcoin going to be? We don't need gold and money, right? Gold is gold. Gold is money. To answer the guy in the sauna, well, what are you going to sell it? What fiat are you going to sell it? When you go sell your gold, are you going to, what are you going to sell it with? What are you going to get? You'll get into fiat. And I said, you don't understand. Gold will be the money. Gold is money, and it will be the money. So you should have saw the look on his face, because I really kind of was the Riddler there, where I gave him a riddle. He was like, wow, where did that come from? All right. So anyway, just to be clear, Bitcoin is a different animal. You do not choose between Bitcoin and gold. There's no choice. Gold is gold. It's cheap. It's 2,700 going to 100,000, where Bitcoin's 100,000. It's got nowhere to go. It's a Ponzi scheme where it takes people to buy it to go up, where gold is being held down. Why isn't Bitcoin held down? That ought to give you the first clue. All right, back to you again.
Gold ETFs are bought with credit. The less credit in them, the better in the event of a stock or bond market crash. That is the topic of forced liquidations, Egon. I think we saw this in 2008, but to some extent you already answered it. What do you think here?
Yes, well, first of all, physical gold for normal investors are not bought on leverage. I mean, that's the big difference with physical gold and paper gold. Paper gold is always leveraged, whether it's in the futures exchanges or whether it's a bank leverage. But people who buy physical gold, they seldom leverage it. And, we tell also our clients, for example, they say, can we borrow against our gold? So leverage it. And we tell them, well, if you borrow money against your physical gold, then the gold is not yours anymore, because the gold then belongs to the lender. So then that is not wealth preservation anymore. That's speculation, and you're holding physical gold to avoid speculation, to have no one else who has an interest in your gold or a legal interest in your gold. So therefore, as I said, I don't think much physical gold is bought on leverage, but ETFs and paper gold is certainly bought on leverage. But there is also now there are a lot of shortages of gold in New York on COMEX now, and there are a lot of deliveries from London now going to New York because they expect that there will be a lot of deliveries of physical out of COMEX in coming months. And that will put real pressure on the gold price upwards because there won't be enough physical, that's for certain.
You might get annoyed by this, but unfortunately it's true. Hold up. If politicians can use their privilege...
Because there won't be enough physical, that's for certain.
We stay with this topic, Egon.
So again, it's supply and demand. Because there's so much demand for gold, more than there is physical, that's why the price will go up. That's why when Alligator says it's not gold going up, it's the dollar going down, he's full of shit. When you have this kind of demand, it is the price going up of gold because more people want it than there is gold, more than supply. So that's what they're seeing. They see the huge demand for gold. If you have huge demand, price will go up. If you have no demand, the price goes down. Huge demand gold, no demand dollars or our dollars. No demand means it's worthless. It doesn't matter if you're the reserve currency or not. If you print it to death and there's no demand for it, because everybody's going to gold, everybody's going to BRICS, and Russia and China, and they're all trading amongst each other. So China's trading with Russia, and they're trading with India, and they're trading with Saudi Arabia and Brazil, and they're all trading. And all these countries are going broke, so they need the gold to survive. So gold's coming very, very soon. All right.
If the bubble in Bitcoin, bonds, and equities bursts, will precious metals be pulled down in the same way? And will there then perhaps be much lower entry prices? So would it make sense to hold cash at the moment? That could be a very risky strategy.
Yes, well, for several reasons, I am not a believer in the present environment to hold cash. And that's for many reasons. First of all, as we discussed before, I do not expect the gold price or the silver price to go down this time when stock markets fall. Because, as I said, the situation is very different to 2008, and people who panic. It might not be the big fall coming now, but it'll be a bigger or a biggish fall coming in the next few months here, and people will go to alternative investments, and some of it, not major amounts, but some of it will go into gold, and so I expect gold to go up significantly, as I said before. And what was the second part of the question, Jan?
Will there be perhaps much lower entry prices, and would it make sense to hold cash at the moment?
Well, cash, of course, is that the value of your money goes down by the day with inflation and the printing of money by governments. So holding cash is not something I recommend. That's number one. And it's also from a wealth preservation point of view to hold gold outside the banking system is a lot safer than holding cash within the banking system. I don't personally think that investors who are waiting for gold to go lower down are going to get the opportunity to buy gold at much lower prices. I think gold is correcting in a sideways move and has for already quite a few weeks, and will continue maybe until early 2025. We don't know, and we don't need to time it. The time to own gold is now, and the move is going to surprise you because it will come out of nowhere, and it will most probably be linked also to, as I said, stock markets falling.
I think so too, Egon. Let's remain at the topic outside the banking system. I have a fitting question here. Egon von Greyerz always says it is important to hold gold outside the banks. Why is that? I don't know that safe deposit boxes have ever been confiscated in the West.
Well, normally safe deposit boxes are not confiscated. I mean, there are of course cases in the US when they have gone in and opened up safe deposit boxes. Normally they have an excuse for doing it, so saying that they expect someone being a criminal or hiding funds or whatever. The laws are normally, if normal laws apply, but let's say in a crisis situation, normal laws might not apply. So the laws normally protect somebody who has a safe deposit box from that being taken from them by the government or whoever. But let us say that there is a general banking crisis in a country or even in many countries that could lead to banks closing. Because if you have a crisis and defaults in banks, and that's happened before, and banks can close for a few weeks or a few months then until the liquidators or receivers or whoever comes, administrators come in to look at what the assets and what the liabilities of the banks are. And at that point, they're most likely also to close the vaults of the bank, because they haven't got the capacity to open every single vault, because there has to be an auditor or some independent person, and there won't be enough of them when this happens, because they can't put one in every bank and in every vault. So therefore, if that happens, the risk is that you don't get access to your gold for quite a long time, and therefore it's much better to have it outside the banking system in a vault that is private and has no debt whatsoever, and you can always access it. And that's one of the main reasons why you should keep it outside the banking system or not in the bank.
Let's come to China, Egon. China and other countries are buying tons of gold, which I assume is not all newly mined. Of course not. Nevertheless, the price of gold is only rising slightly. How can this be explained? Is it possible a case of misinformation? Are the reported gold reserves of other countries really as high as claimed? Who knows?
Yes, so there were two different questions there. First of all, today, the China, for example, from what we understand, is that when they are the biggest producer of gold in the world, near 400 tons a year, and they keep that gold themselves, the Chinese government now. So that is actually fresh gold that they keep. So it never goes onto the market. It means that it never affects the price. They produce the gold and they keep the gold. And also my understanding is that Russia does the same. Russia also, which is well, I think it's the third. So I think Australia's second or Russia's third. It's about the same, the biggest gold producer. And they're also keeping all of their own gold. They know that. They understand the value of gold more than ever, because they see what the West is doing and they see what the US is doing, destroying the value of paper money. And therefore, they're keeping their own gold also and building up the reserves. So that never comes onto the market either. Then we have, of course, we've seen a lot of central banks, BRICS, Eastern central banks, and BRIC members, not Western central banks, buying gold. Western central banks are not buying gold at all. They haven't bought gold for decades. But the Eastern ones are. And, central banks, when they're buying gold, they're very cautious, so they don't want to push the price up. So they are very carefully going into the market to pick up gold without putting upward pressure on the price. As I have said before in our discussions, Jan, of course, you also have this move now from dollar reserves. Central banks, after that, the US confiscated the Russian assets, which were obviously mainly dollar assets, then no central bank will trust the US to hold their reserve assets, as I said, which are primarily in dollars. So therefore, central banks are now gradually moving the dollar reserves from US dollars to gold, physical gold, and taking it, storing it at home in their country, not with the in New York or in London with the.
Well, one thing he's not saying that I will say, the question was, if China's buying all this gold in Russia, why isn't the gold price going up? And that's our friends at COMEX. Gold price does not go on free market. This is not the demand driving the price up. This is what it should be. But because they do the derivatives and they keep the price down, it doesn't matter how much is bought, because that's not what affects the price. It is in the real market, but in this derivative market, it's just strictly the derivatives that raise and lower the price of gold, not all the gold that's bought. That's why we buy it, because this is why we know it's so undervalued. They're buying all this gold. The price should be 10,000 an ounce, but it's still 2,700. That's why we're buying it. We're buying $10,000 an ounce gold for $2,600, because it's not free market priced, it's derivative price. That's why the price of gold and silver aren't going to where they should be, because it's not based on the free market. People buying it raises the price, but that's not what we're seeing. So that's what he should have answered.
Central bank. So that is an ongoing movement that's going to take several years, but that will put tremendous upward pressure on the gold price. And I think we're not talking about here small moves. We're talking about sustained. There will be buyers of gold continuously for many years in the form of the central banks selling the dollars, buying gold. And that, I think, will lead to eventually that gold's going to go up by multiples, as we have talked about before, not just by a few $1,000s, but by multiples, because there will be sustained demand from a level, as at a central bank level, which will certainly outcompete all small investors. What normal investors do will be irrelevant in comparison to these major buyers of gold being central banks, and especially.
That's like me buying 5 ounces here and 3 ounces there, and you buying a couple ounces. That's what he's saying. So we buy a few ounces, but the central banks are gonna buy tons, and that's what he means by it.
The BRICS and Eastern and Southern Central Bank. That is a very important move that will take place over many years, as I said. So that will support gold for a long time. Plus, of course, the other support is that the Western economists and countries will continue to destroy the value of their money by printing more and more, because of the debts going up now exponentially. And that in itself, of course, will mean that paper money will go down in value, which means gold will continue up. So those are major forces, Jan, that will mean that gold is going to be one of the best assets to hold, not just for wealth preservation purposes. I'm talking about physical gold, of course, but also for wealth enhancement purposes. So that is for gold investor going to mean that you just buy your gold and you sit on it and you do nothing. You never worry about the price. Whatever, if it goes down in the short term, it makes no difference. We have, for example, we went into gold at $300 in 2002. And we, of course, never sold anything, only bought more. And that's, you don't have to worry about it. You know that governments will take care of it for you. The central banks, they will always destroy the value of money. So your gold will continue up. So it's so easy. And I'm sure investors will discover this eventually.
See, there he's saying you're not only protecting your money by getting out of money and into gold. So the 100 grand you have in dollars, you put it into gold and you don't lose any of the value. It's still worth 100 grand. It's just worth it in gold. But now he's finally saying it'll go up in price. He called it, but it's wealth preservation and it's wealth enhancement, I think he said, or it's going to go up in price and we're all going to make a boatload of money. That's the other part of it. He's finally realizing, yes, it will go up in value because of all the demand. And this is why I talk Titanic. It's the point where everybody realizes the boat's going to sink, they all run to the lifeboat. And that's when you have the frenzy. And that's when, the premium for the lifeboat. Here, the lifeboat's gold and silver. So when people are starting to realize the dollar is going out, because you can't afford the debt and the debt payment and all the printing and everything. And when people can't understand that, when people realize they're all being made off and being fucked, they're all going to run into gold, and you're going to get that frenzy, and the price will shoot up. It'll go from 10 grand to 30 grand or more, because people will realize they're fucked, and the only lifeboat is gold and silver. That's the only lifeboat. Bitcoin's not a lifeboat. Dollar's not a lifeboat. Stock market's not a lifeboat. It's got to be out of the dollar system or the banking system, which is Wall Street and Bitcoin and all that. ETFs is all paper system. So you got to get out of that. And the only lifeboat you have is gold and silver. So that's why I say what I say. It's the only way to save. Not only do you save your ass from losing all your money in the dollar, but you also then make a lot of money because everybody will jump into gold, and it's very limited. Now, I know they're going to try CBDCs or all this shit. You don't play because you're in gold, and you don't need CBDCs. They're worthless. They're not going to be backed by anything. They're still worthless. Don't get into them. You'll be able to use your gold or silver and trade it for money or whatever they're going to use. They'll switch or whatever, but you don't want to get into CBDC. I don't know about all this control bullshit. You can't control 300 million people here or 1 billion people wherever. You can't control them. That's just ridiculous. You can't. You don't have enough people to watch everybody. So that's just crazy. All right.
And Egon, it is so easy to do. Anybody can do it, but maybe the sophisticated investors, they like it complicated. Easy is nothing for them. But let's come to silver. We have to touch silver also. Why are prices not rising more strongly? Silver. We talk about silver. We know that India and China are importing extreme amounts of silver. Manipulation by the bullion banks still seems to be active. What do you think?
Price
yes,
fixing.
I think so. There are, I think, major short positions in paper silver among the bullion banks, and obviously you especially have the big American banks there. They are desperate to hold the silver price down, because if that market breaks, there will be no end to the amount of silver they will have to buy to settle these forward contracts or these derivative contracts that are open, and therefore they're at every level. They're trying to hold it now. We're holding it around just over the $30 level, for example. But when it breaks, just like when gold breaks, silver will, of course, move at least twice as fast, maybe even faster, 3 times as fast. It's a very small market, from a volume point of view, and therefore, a bit of strong buying and a lot of short covering by these bullion banks will mean that silver could go up dramatically when it starts, and I would expect that to start also probably in the first quarter of next year. But as I always said, silver is it is an exciting metal, and it will rise in price substantially. But it is much more volatile than gold, so people should be.
See, I disagree with that. It's volatile in the fact that COMEX is pricing it, and they're doing derivatives when it goes up. It's not volatile when you get it on the free market. Nobody's going to be selling their gold, and nobody's going to be selling their silver. So he's looking at paper volatility, not physical volatility. Silver will not be volatile when it's priced free market and everybody's buying it. It's not going to go down. He doesn't understand. He's talking derivative paper. Silver is volatile. Yes, but this is physical. I'm talking
careful in not having too much silver, and certainly not buying it high. buy it when it's cheap. Buy it, for example, now. Don't wait until it gets to $40 or $50, because that will be too late. Well, it won't be too late, but go higher. But then there'll be a correction, and people get nervous.
There won't be a correction,
and then they won't buy it back at the right time. So just buy when it's low and nobody wants it. As I say, when it's unloved and undervalued, that's when you buy it, and then you just sit on it, and you will see silver substantially higher. But I think investors should have more gold than silver because of the volatility of silver.
Right.
but it's not volatile if it's physical.
Why in the world?
Of silver.
Buy low, sell high, Egon. That is a simple lesson,
Yes.
but difficult to do for many, especially if nobody is talking. Silver, it's still low and it takes time. It's such a long time where it's doing nothing, and then it's suddenly exploding. So you have to really get in when there is not much interest there. For a reason, I chose also this background today. Another topic, Egon, and that also comes from time to time back, is a ban of gold ownership. Really. The question is, what are the implications if gold ownership is banned in Europe and I have gold in Switzerland, for instance, in your deep vault? Does this affect me at all?
I assume when now somebody says Europe, they mean in the EU, I suppose the European Union. Although Switzerland is also part of Europe, so is the UK. But I think they mean the European Union. Yes, I would say that it's more likely that there will be control of the precious metals or gold in the European Union than in Switzerland. Or in the UK, which is obviously not part of the European Union anymore. But, I've been saying for quite a long time that the gold market, the total gold market, that is all the gold ever produced in the world, is as I said, about $70 trillion. But half of that is jewelry. But if you take central bank gold, is only about $3 trillion. It's absolutely nothing. That's the value of Microsoft. Central bank gold, which is the backing of all the money in the world, if you want, is valued at the same as one US company, which is crazy. And it just shows you how massively undervalued gold is. So why should authorities, whether it's in the EU or other countries, why should they confiscate gold when it's such a small market? And as I said before, only 0.5% of world financial assets are in gold. Why don't they confiscate all the bank accounts instead, or all private property or investment property? There's so much, or stocks. They make much more money by doing that than confiscating gold. It's just emotional gold. My view is that. Yeah.
Egon, maybe to back a new currency happened before.
Yes, but it's no use having an asset that is not, and if you want that as part of a new currency, if it's not tradable, then it has no value. You've got to be able to use it as money. Otherwise, it doesn't serve any purpose. And then that anyone who says that they have gold to back their currency, how do you know that they even have the gold? Because you can't even trade because there's no price if it's just held by the government or the central bank. So I don't think that's going to happen. I think, as I said many times, I think governments will sadly get their income not from confiscating gold, but from taxing the people. And we're seeing that, now, for example, in the UK, the new Labour government, they are such now levying punitive taxes on individual company owners, on farmers, etc., and also on businesses. Which will be disastrous for the UK economy. And that's probably what will happen in France and in Germany also with new governments. That's taxes is the weapon that governments will use, not confiscation of assets, in my view. And anyway, Switzerland is outside of the EU. That they are a semi-member in certain areas. But nevertheless, I don't expect Switzerland to confiscate gold for the simple reason that that is a strategic asset in Switzerland. Switzerland has the biggest gold vaults in the world. Switzerland has the biggest refiners in the world. Switzerland refines 70% of all the gold bars in the world. You don't kill the goose that lays the golden egg. So why should Switzerland, kill the gold trade when actually it's a major economic benefit for them and a strategic asset. So on the contrary, I can see gold being actually, or Switzerland being a gold hub. It is already, but it's becoming a bigger gold hub in the world. I'm not worried about confiscation. I think people should worry a lot more about taxes. Tax planning is much more important than investment planning, even, especially in the times that we can see ahead. Because governments are going to need all the tax revenue they can, and the people are not going to make enough money to pay those taxes. So that will lead to real problems in the world. And as I said, in my view, there's not gold confiscation, which people should worry about.
All right. One final question for today, Egon. There are big political changes in the US. It is obvious. What impact, if any, will Trump's presidency have on gold? At least, for sure, is he cannot make the debt burden disappear.
Absolutely right, and that's the key, Jan. We have now seen the market euphoria, stock market euphoria from Trump's nomination for president. This is a typical buy the rumor, sell the fact. That is, people have bought the stock market because Trump is going to come in and change everything, and everybody becomes optimistic. And you have Elon Musk, who's going to be part of it. Probably, he's an interesting person and very successful. But I think one day probably Musk and Trump will fall out because it's just too intense. So that's one problem. And of course now also the Nigel Farage of the Reform Party in the UK, he's gone across now and he wants to learn from Musk and from Trump how they can actually win the next election in the UK. Trump, the euphoria from his election, the president, I think is finished now. So now we have bought the rumor. Now I think at some point, probably early next year, it will be the sell the fact moment, which means that people are then going to look at stock markets again, look at, as you said before, they're overvalued to a massive extent. If you compare them to stocks to GDP or P ratios or whatever basis you value stocks, they are in a bubble. And I think we will see a sell-off in stocks starting sometime first quarter next year. It could be early, it could be later. It doesn't matter when. The Trump effect is finished. I think the problems in the US will remain the debt problem, as you mentioned, and that's not going to go away. On the one hand, he talks about Musk coming in and saving expenses, etc., in his efficiency department. That's not going to happen. Politically, it's unacceptable. It's not going to happen to any major extent. And therefore, the deficits will continue to grow. And it is deficits and money printing which will accelerate in the next few years. That is what determines the gold price, nothing else. So, as I said, I expect a much higher gold price combined with a much lower stock market in 2025. Sadly, and the Trump effect will evaporate quickly. And on top of that, he will have major problems. He's not a warmonger, but the wars will still be there, and the problems will still be there in the Middle East. Problems. Russia is not going to just say, "Okay, fine, let's make peace." Russia is going to demand that NATO pulls back a long, long way. And that the West is probably not going to accept. So it won't be a quick peace, even if obviously the world would like it to be. But I don't think it will be. So the problems in the world will continue in the Middle East, in Ukraine, etc. therefore also the money printing and the debt explosion will also continue, and that's what gold investors should focus on. Nothing else. Not an individual. An individual like Trump is not going to make a massive difference. He cannot change this very bad trend that the world is in now, and that's same is going to be with Germany, of course, with France, the UK. Disastrous now for the UK, the economy, and of course Germany, as you know, is gradually sinking, or even sinking faster now. France is going to be killed by its unions, which is always is, demanding more and more. So we are in a mess in the Western world, and the gold will be more important than ever to protect your wealth in this situation. Physical gold outside the banking system, that's the only way to hold your gold, and you will do very well in the next few years by doing that.
That was a good final statement, Egon. We have to prepare for the worst, and as you said it is now very important to have at least one leg in the precious metals market. Those market euphoria, if we haven't seen the top yet, then we should be close to it. And we see the circumstances around us. We are close to Christmas, of course. We hope and pray for the best, but we have to prepare for the worst. Egon von Dreyerts, I thank you today for the Q&A.
There you go.
Session. I wish you and your family, of course, and all your staff members a Merry Christmas and a good turn to 2025. Let's make, under any circumstances, the best of it. All right?
Thank you, Jan, and the same to you, and also the same to our viewers. It's going to be a tough year, and remember, hold some gold, but then friends and family, that's everything in life. Help people, look after people, and that way we can all keep sane and still enjoy life in spite of the problems that we will encounter.
You enjoy it much more with gold and silver than you do without it. Anyway, that was Egon. It was a very good he answered a lot of the Bitcoin, the Trump, the gold, the silver, even the perfect questions. Why aren't they going up? They're not going up because the gold and silver price are not priced at physical. They are priced at paper. There's no physical price. There's just paper derivative prices. So that's why it doesn't matter how much China buys in India and Russia, how much gold and silver they buy. That's why they keep buying it, because they're keeping the price down. So it's like bonus. Oh, I'll buy it at 30. I'll buy all these tons and tons, and the price doesn't move. I'll buy more. And it's JP Morgan with the derivatives who can't let the price go up, or they'll have to buy the physical to pay off these derivatives. So they're all fucked, but eventually they can't hold it anymore. I thought he said by January. I'll try to find that part. But he says it'll be going up, and I think it'll be going up by January. Let me see. Well, I can't because it's in German. It's not in English. Anyway, I'll look for that. But he says he sees the silver price going up, and he thought it would be going up by January. So very soon we're going to have a huge jump in gold and silver. I've been buying those 2 ounces. So I bought 1/10 of an ounce of gold. All he had was ounces. And I just bought an ounce, and I can't, come up with 2,700 every week. So I went and I bought 5 more of those 2-ounce silvers at 34 an ounce, and so 68 a piece. And then he had 1/10 of an ounce graded MS70, and he only charged me $300 for it. So I said, "Oh, that's what I would pay for a regular one." He said, "So it's like there's no premium on a 70." Well, on eBay, I'm seeing a big premium. I'm seeing a $70, $80 premium on it. Now, I don't care. I'm just trying to buy gold. I'm not going to sell it. I didn't buy it at 300 to sell it at 360. I bought it at 300 to let it go to 3,000. So again, just accumulating more and more. I think I'm getting paid very soon. Tomorrow, I think, be my last pay of the year. So I might buy a little bit more silver, or if he has a tenth of an ounce, but I'm not going to spend a lot because I got rent coming up and I'm losing pay on the holidays. So because I'll get a 1-day check for this and I get a 2-day check next week. So I really am a little bit short. I put extra money in my safe. I don't have much in the bank. I don't want much in the bank. And I'll probably go play poker, maybe New Year's Eve. I like to go to the casino. Before I used to get the buffet and have a nice dinner and play poker, but they don't have the buffet anymore. So it's like they're all fucked. So I just I go usually get ribs and chicken. But that's when I'm going to have Christmas. So I probably won't do that. So I might go play for New Year's Eve and then that. But last year was tough because the football games were on and I couldn't really play with the football games being on. So I don't know what I'll do. But it's funny as you get older, when you're young, you want to go, and drop the ball and it's Christmas and now New Year's Eve, I don't give a fuck. It's sort of like, yeah, okay, yeah, it's just another day. Fortunately, my birthday is still exciting. It's not just another day, but everything else is just another day. Although Christmas isn't, but New Year's Eve is just another day, just another night. Oh, okay, it's New Year's Day, whatever. Anyway, questions, comments, let me know. Egon really nailed it, and we will go from there. But that answers all your questions. We're wondering why isn't the price going up in Bitcoin and Trump, and they're just printing money to pay the debt and pay all the pensions and Social Security and welfare and everything else. And you're just flooding the market with these worthless dollars because they're not real. You can't just produce and print something without having it backed by gold or silver or it's got to have a backing. It's got to have a value. And when you just print money to pay the debt, $1 trillion out of thin air, it devalues the rest of the dollars because you're printing them. You can't do that. You can't have something that's not backed and just make it. So anyway, I like how I'm the only one doing a live one. All these guys do their little videos and the questions, and I try to answer the questions with comments and not questions. But anyway, so I'll be on tomorrow. I don't know when. The pool closes at 1:30, and I got to go get the barbecue because I'm going to have that Christmas Eve or Christmas Day will be ribs and chicken. So I'm going to go tomorrow, which is Christmas Eve, and get it after swim. So swim will be done like 1:30. So I might do class at like 10. Although we pretty much covered football. We'll focus on the Wednesday games and the Thursday games and the pros. And really all you can do in college is, are they playing or not, and hope they don't fuck us at the end, where Michigan did that, where Peppers 5 minutes before kickoff didn't play. Well, how the hell are you going to analyze that? So at least here we have that website, thanks to Alex, where it says these guys are opting out. And then even if they're opting out, if they're in the transfer portal, they're all playing or they're not playing. Like the Coastal Carolina players tonight were all not playing. So we knew they weren't playing. And that was the difference. Anyway, so that's about it. So we'll look at that. There's a few more videos I wanted to share. One on the housing crisis. Alligator has one. The Mark McGuire alligator one on Friday. I can share that. And maybe we'll just do an economics class, get a little football in. I know I have two different audiences. Some who don't, like Luke, only really cares about the gold and the economics, and like Todd's more interested in the football. So we will see. But anyway, I think that's about it. It's 11 o'clock. I am exhausted. Now, I don't have work, so I'm going to sleep in a little bit. Like I said, I might do class at 10, but I gotta get to the pool probably about 12 because it closes at 1:30, and then to get to the restaurant to get the carry out. So anyway, www.teaserking.com, football. Somebody like Todd, you paid for the college, so if you want the pros, it's just another $100 to get you to the Super Bowl. So I'm running a special, $200 for all the games till the end of the year for both college and pro, the playoffs in both sports, if you want that. And if you've already played it, if you've already bought the bowls, then you don't owe the full 200. You owe 100, because then it's the other 100 is for the pros if you bought the bowls. So anyway, then you get all the games. So anyway, have a great night. Merry Christmas Eve tomorrow, and have a great night. Enjoy, be safe, eat. Now eat. I will have I got chocolate mousse. I'll have that, but that'll cover me like Wednesday, but then Thursday, Friday, I'm not going to have it. So if you don't eat it every day, you're okay. It's if you get cake and ice cream and you eat it for a week straight, you really fuck up your system. But if you just have that and then that's it, and then you kind of have your normal healthy food, then you're fine. So remember that. So enjoy. Merry Christmas. www.teaserking.com. Let's get some winners. All right. Take care, everybody. Have a nice night.